Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Lopes Goes Last podcast channel, where we are going to be doing part 2 of our WrestleMania predictions and thoughts. We did half of the matches last week. We're doing the other half of the matches this week. And we've got some doozies for you in this one. Several matches have been added just over the last 7 days or so, maybe 8 days, I guess, technically, based on where we're at now. We're recording on a Tuesday. So we'll say since last Monday when we recorded the first session. So we're going to talk about all the rest of the matches. If you haven't watched the first part of this, go ahead and watch it. And weirdly, half of that we spent saying to come and watch this. And so we're just going to
go watch the other one.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to send you on a seesaw here, going back and forth until you get dizzy and then you just throw up, I guess. That's our goal here. But go watch that first before watching this so that you know exactly what matches we have talked about and exactly what matches we have not. We talked about the women's matches already, or at least most of the championship matches.
Yes.
Right, the women's title matches. We obviously have a couple more women's matches that have been added on here over the last couple of weeks. And we also talked about the United States Championship match. Yes. We talked about the World Heavyweight Championship match, so on and so forth. But there's going to be some great matches that we're going to talk about today as well. So I hope you guys are as excited as we are. Dan, first of all, how do you feel about the preparation on such short notice for a lot of these matches this week? And second of all, how do you feel about what you talked about last week since you've had about 8 days to think about it?
The only thing I wish I could maybe change is, and I don't know if I'd even want to change it, but something that definitely changed between when we recorded last week, we're recording this week, is the EOS title, the women's champion, WWE Women's Championship, I believe. Yeah, I looked these up 2 days ago, and I meant to have the list in front of me, but EOS title. Let's go with EOS title or SmackDown title, whatever we want. Easier for people to remember. I'm not as worried about the interference in that match now because the Kabuki Warrior, the Damage Control now has a match. They're not defending the titles, which it kind of goes back to where it's like, that's the only title that's not truly being defended, but they at least got in the car and got a match for Damage Control.
Right.
So that's nice. We'll talk about that match in a little bit. That's really the only match I'm just like, maybe, I'm excited for, they've released the cards for both nights now. One thing that I think I'm a little more excited for that doesn't really work into your plans, I don't think, as much as Jade and Jimmy being on night one. I think that's the perfect match to start the night. So I hope that's what they decide to start that match that night, or start that night with that match. But yeah, I mean, today we're going to be talking about pretty much all, we're taking about all the tag team matches. It's Tag Team Palooza.
Yes, indeed.
So, and there's a title for you for the podcast if you want. If you
Tag
want
Team Palooza.
Part 2, you can see Tag Team Palooza. Just an idea, whatever. But yeah, no, literally, there's of the 7 matches we're talking about tonight, only 2 of them are not tag matches.
Yeah.
That's a lot of tag matches for WrestleMania card.
It is a lot of tag matches. But look, I used to complain all the time because of how much I loved NXT. That part I wouldn't complain about. But what I complain about is that tag team wrestling was so prevalent all throughout NXT. Mm-hmm. And clearly Triple H valued tag teams and tag team wrestling so much with the Dusty Classic and just with how well the titles were booked all the time and how many, tag matches were on all the NXT shows that actually mattered. And so now that we have so much, tag team wrestling on the main roster, at times it can get a little repetitive and kind of, it can be a workaround and a dance around, like with the LWO and Legado del Fantasma facing each other indirectly for 939 weeks in a row. And then there's not even a tag match to blow it off at WrestleMania either.
There kind of is.
But not really.
They're all going to get involved at some point. We know that.
Sure, but it's just not the same. The point is, though, the point is that, you can't, I at least feel like I can't have it both ways. I complained for years about there not being nearly as much tag team wrestling, or that they didn't care about it outside of 1 or 2 teams, which are really just the New Day and the Usos. Everybody else, no one cared about anybody else, really. But now they do. Now they care about tag teams a lot, and that's going to be a huge thing.
From these NXT teams that are finally on the main roster.
Exactly, and so I think it's going to be a very big theme throughout this entire podcast is talking about how important tag teams are, and obviously how they can book them to be important moving forward.
Yeah. It's a couple other things I was going to mention from last week. We mentioned at the end of the podcast from last week, CM Punk's on commentary.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's just for that title match, so I don't think he's that whole night. It's just
correct.
For that title match. That's going to be great. I don't know if I'm assuming they're going to go with Michael Cole and Corey Graves for the announced team for the PLE, the whole PLE like they usually do.
They either are going to do that or they're going to do what they've done in the past where Raw tag teams, good grief. Tag Team Palooza. Raw commentary team
Raw matches.
calls the Raw matches and SmackDown commentary team calls the SmackDown matches. I truly hope that that's not the case. Certainly, it's going to seem really unfair, but certainly I wouldn't really necessarily mind if Wade Barrett and Corey Graves called like the Bobby Lashley faction versus Karrion Kross stuff. Sure. But I would be pretty upset if they were like, oh, well, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes is technically for the SmackDown title, so Michael Cole doesn't get to call this one. That would be just wildly unfair.
You don't think they'd go with a 4-man announced team, do you?
Oh, God, I hope not. I think that at the very least you could do a 3-man. You could do with McAfee and Corey Graves and Michael Cole, and then Wade Barrett.
McAfee and Corey Graves would just be bickering with each other the whole time.
Yeah. Fair enough. Maybe let Wade Barrett go down and go call Stand and Deliver at noon or something like that. We could do the NXT show.
I honestly hope it's Cole and Graves. I feel like Graves has done a good job in taking that play-by-play role on SmackDown.
He has. He's done a great job.
So, I do like those two together. I think they work very well off each other. Maybe McAfee sprinkled in here and there for a couple matches that aren't like huge title bouts or whatever to where it might take away from the big title bouts. But, I think sprinkling McAfee, maybe even give Barrett a call or two with Cole, But I really hope, at least, if not both nights, the whole nights, I do hope that it is at least Cole and Graves for a majority of the matches. I think they are your two best announcers. That you obviously paired them together as your two best announcers on SmackDown for a long time. So I hope it's, I hope that's how it goes.
Sure.
But Punk and commentary, I think with those two is going to be great. Punk has got a mouth, and he's just great. We talked about possibly seeing 14 matches, but I'm pretty sure unless they do like a last minute match at the start of SmackDown or something, I think it's the 13 that they've announced. They've announced the cards for both nights now. You can go find them. I'm not going to list them all off here. But they listed both nights.
Yep.
I think the one match that you were really hoping for that got teased last night was involving Andrade, right?
Yes. Yeah, last night on Raw, they Dominic basically went to Andrade and said, I want you to take care of Ricochet. And first of all, just Andrade has always been very exciting. He's always been fantastic in the ring. And obviously, he carries himself like a superstar.
Yes.
And Ricochet has put on a show every week for the last handful of weeks. Fantastic match last night.
Give him something.
Give him something to do.
Please.
Even if it's just 10 minutes, they could figure out something good in 10 minutes. You could put Andrade over. It's whatever you want to do. That's fine.
Yeah.
I was hoping that they would announce that match after that. It doesn't seem like that'll be the case. Seems like maybe that's a Raw after Mania match, which I wouldn't mind that. Yeah. Obviously, that's a huge crowd anyway, so that'd be fine. So we'll kind of see what happens with that. But I was kind of hoping that we'd be seeing that in Mania too.
Yeah, they're going to both be in the Battle Royale. That's on SmackDown. What's the Andre the Giant Battle Royale. I was looking at that list. Andrade, Ricochet, Bronson Reed, Chad Gable, Shinsuke Nakamura. Those are pretty much the 5 men, I think, on both brands that don't really have anything to do. So it's like, well, guess we'll jump in the Battle Royale. To me, on one hand, it's like, to me, you got those 5 names and you don't have anything from the do, and you already have a stacked card. We're in this for such a good card for WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a shame that all those guys got shoved into a battle royale.
Don't forget Jade McDonough.
Oh yeah, sure. I think those 5 would be a great way to. You could have like done a. I'm hoping like maybe Monday after Raw we get some kind of showcase with at least the Andrade and Ricochet, but even maybe the 5 of them where we start working towards the next number 1 contender for the IC title for whoever wins the IC title at Mania. Because I feel like Andrade, Ricochet, Reed, Gable, obviously Shinsuke. I mean, those are 5 excellent names that you could just line up down the road for everyone to after Mania as your 5 next opponents.
You can
very easily, very storylines. We've got a PLE pretty much every month through August. I think even with an extra one maybe in there somewhere. But they announced Clash at the Castle. So I mean, it's very easy to line up a lot of PLE opponents for whoever wins the IC title. And I think those 5 guys are perfect for that contendership. Contendership there. So it's a little unfortunate. There's obviously on the women's side, there's something going on with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. Candice is starting to turn the heel, and Indy's kind of like, I'm not sure what to do now. I thought that little thing that they had in Raw was nice because, Indy took out Candice accidentally, but she was kind of like, that's kind of a nice thing to do. So maybe they blow that off. I'm not sure if they'll blow that off soon, but I feel like you could have even given them and a few other women another match. We don't have too many women's matches on the card outside of the title matches and what we talked about earlier with Damage Control and their match now. So I mean, I feel there's a few others. We could have gotten the card, but again, I'm excited about this card. We have a lot. We have a lot of good matches, a lot of good names. I feel like it's one of the best Mania cards we've had in a long time. Honestly, I don't know if you feel the same, but I'm looking forward to pretty much every single match in this card, and I don't know if I can say that about the past few WrestleManias.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of matches that I think I would have preferred matches that have gone differently. I think that you shafted some guys that could have done something, and I think that you missed some opportunities here and there. I think for me the biggest missed opportunity is the fact that you let Kazuchika Okada sign AEW. Especially watching him in AEW, he looks completely and utterly out of place. He genuinely, he's trying to hang out with the elite, and his personality and his kind of the way he carries himself just do not mesh. They're very, very flamboyant and outgoing, and yes, he's the Rainmaker, and he's got, the big robes and everything, but his personality is not that of, like, that's not his, personality, and so it just doesn't mesh well. And I think that, man, if you'd have done Kazuchika Okada versus Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania as your, one of your matches instead, I think that you'd have tore the house down with that. I mean, and you're utilizing a guy in Shinsuke Nakamura that otherwise right now is not on WrestleMania.
Right, and he should be.
And so it's one of those things where you sit there and you think, man, if you can get a 5-star match or close to it out of a guy that's not even on your WrestleMania card, I think it's a huge missed opportunity. Yep. And certainly there's some other ones that I may or may not get into later. I don't know. It depends on what comes up. But, like for me, would have liked to see Jade versus Nia Jax, perhaps.
Yeah,
or just Bianca Belair one-on-one with Jade. Yep. I don't know, again, if they feel that Jade's not ready. And if she's not ready, then that's fine. I understand. Right. I don't see it. I mean, certainly she needs to work on her promos. That's fine. She can work on her promos.
So that's 70% of the roster.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know if they feel like she's just not adapted to the style fully yet and they need to give her some more time. And if that's the case, then so be it. I just don't see it. I don't see how you can't just take one look at her and know that she's the next superstar. And maybe, they're trying to tell that story, but also at the same time protect her in every way, shape, or form from being on TV or doing anything that strenuous or long. And it's like, eventually you're going to have to show us what she can do, or otherwise we're just going to be like, who's this muscular chick that they seem to care a whole lot about, but we never see. Right. So we're going to get towards that. Nia Jax also not on the card, seems like.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I mean, that's great. I've said it many times. I don't like Nia Jax at all.
I said this last week where I was almost afraid of that's what she's going to somehow get involved in the Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley match. But I don't get that feeling. As with the last couple episodes of Raw, I don't get that feeling anymore. I feel it's and I said last week, completely would ruin that match.
Yep.
For me, I feel for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I think she's a great foil for many people on the roster, many women on the roster. But if she hasn't earned, she just obviously hasn't earned that Mania match just yet.
Sure.
And, for the most part, that's not a bad thing, I don't think.
Fair enough, yeah. And I think what they're going to ultimately do is I think we're going to get a Raw after Mania return of Alexa Bliss. And I think that...
That's right. She's been missing for a little while.
I think that you might go back to that tag team with Nia that they did a few years ago. And see how that goes.
We do need some women's tag teams.
Yeah, especially one that can be as dominant as that duo can.
I got another idea later.
Yeah, so, anyway, point being that there's some matches that certainly I probably would have liked to see a little better. I think that there are some guys and girls that should be more involved in the show. Like, for instance, the fact that Chelsea Green and Piper Niven carried that women's tag division for, about 6 months, and Piper Niven hasn't even been on TV, and Chelsea Green apparently has dropped off the face of the earth, and she complains about every little thing, and then suddenly she's not complaining about not being on WrestleMania, which does not fit her character in any way, shape, or form at all. And so, there's just like little things here and there that kind of irk me, but for the most part, yes, I'm very excited about the card. Again, certain matches don't particularly care for.
Right. There's definitely some that are like, okay, I'll still watch it, but...
Yeah, but at the same time...
Almost not a long match.
Yeah, I'm very excited. So, what are we starting off with today, Dan?
Let's start off with the six-pack ladder match. One thing that we kind of talked about over at Tex is, and I haven't seen anything today, about A-Town Down Under maybe not being in this match.
Yeah, that's wild.
I couldn't really find anything the last couple of days. I just kind of started seeing it pop up. It is Mania season, so it's like rumor extraordinaire season at the same time. So I'm kind of wondering if someone threw that out there just to try to, throw something off. But as far as I can tell, I don't think they've been replaced yet. I know there is a tag match coming up at the end on SmackDown this week that involves Pretty Deadly and I forget the other team they're facing off against because everybody else is in the ladder match.
Yeah, I don't
come to
remember
me.
either.
I'll look it up at some point because that's going to bother me now. So maybe that's the last second we're changing the entrance. I don't know. But so I mean, so with that, we have. I believe that means we have 4 from Raw, 2 from SmackDown, Pretty Deadly, New Scratch Republic, DIY, Awesome Truth, Judgment Day as the title holders, and New Day. So yeah, 4 from Raw, 2 from SmackDown, not 3.
Yep,
that would add up to 6. But I think this is the beginning of the end for Judgment Day. I feel like we talked about this briefly last week, around the Rhea match. I think more things with Dom. On Raw this past week, SmackDown on this past Friday, kind of leading to a little bit more. They're either gonna really expand Judgment Day after Mania, or it's all gonna crumble apart within a month or two after Mania. I feel, and I'm gonna lean towards it's the beginning of the end of the crumble for Judgment Day. With Dom, I think you could easily put Dom into some other programs. Very easily. Obviously, he has a match on Mania now, so he's kind of doing his own thing. He's not making Rhea happy. Jade just gets pummeled match after match after match, so it's kind of like, what is he even there for outside of just to take all the heat all the time?
Yep.
Which I don't. You have followed, I think, more of his career than I have, but I mean, I feel like that's kind of a disservice to him because I feel like he, I feel like it's kind of a disservice to anybody when you're just the constant fodder to be beat up all the time after time after time. Especially when the Raw that you and I attended, he had the match against Seth, and that Raw that we attended here in Greenville. He was a pretty good match. Obviously he lost, but I was like, maybe that's a little bit of a change for him. And he's, it's just nope. He's still just the fodder that everybody beats up on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if you had a thought there, but
no, I mean, well, yeah, I do, and I don't want to get off too much of a rabbit hole here, just because, again, we're going to be going over the matches, I promise. But this has been not necessarily a problem. You can look at it as a problem, certainly, but it's just kind of a fundamental truth of the WWE since its inception, really, and it's that there's so many amazing athletes that one of the few ways that you could stand out is by being an absurd athlete. Like, one of a kind, right? And so in that, you have all these guys that have potential to become that all on the same roster. You look up and down. Gunther, Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, like Roman Reigns, like all these just monsters of men in varying, obviously, degrees of what kind of monster they are.
Right.
And your developmental system, while very entertaining and very, very good for most of the time it has been there in NXT, a lot of it is made up of smaller, quicker wrestlers. And there is a place in WWE and everywhere else in the world for those guys.
Right.
But at the same time, the vast majority of those guys are not going to be the guys that are 35 minutes, they're a real challenger to the belt, where like, man, this is real difficult for this person to defeat this guy when you're 170 pounds, like Jade McDonough. And that's look, I wish I was 170 pounds. I am a little over that. If I was 170 pounds, I'd be happy as a clam. But, like, how credible is it when Jade McDonough goes up against Roman Reigns?
Right.
Or goes up against Gunther? Or goes up against... Right? It just, at a certain level, our eyes look at it and go, this makes no sense. Right. And so there's only a certain place that you can go. And so how else can you stand out? Well, you can make everybody else look really good.
Yeah.
And JD has done that. Now, in NXT UK, when he was wrestling Pete Dunne, who's about 190 pounds, or 205 pounds, whatever, Tyler Bate, right? Like, all these smaller guys, yeah, they look like they're an even match. And you can put on a 35-minute match between those two, and it's great. But when one of them is way bigger than you...
Right.
Yeah, you could put on... And it's not like there's no such thing as David versus Goliath matches. Obviously, it's not true. We've seen it plenty of times.
Yep.
But you can't do it every single flipping week and
right.
have it be believable. Because then you're like, okay, well, none of this makes any sense. Like, that guy's 450 pounds of absolute muscle, and that guy looks like my little brother if I left him in the dryer too long. And that guy just beat him 9 times in a row? Like, that doesn't make sense, right? So, like, there's a... So yes, you can look at it as a problem, but to me, it's just a part of being in the WWE. You've gotta stand out athletically, and as good as JD McDonough is, or a guy like Ricochet, which breaks my heart, is, it's gonna be really difficult to look at that guy and think credible world heavyweight champion or credible when you've got like all these other guys that are just animals crawling around. I mean, like think about it this way. So say JD McDonough goes on this crazy run after the Judgment Day is over. He gets super popular all of a sudden, and he wins the United States Championship. LA Knight's waiting for him. Bobby Lashley's waiting for him. Braun Breaker's waiting for him. Gunther's waiting for him. Like, he's dead. Like, he's dead. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just...
It's a very short reign.
Yeah. Bronson Reed is waiting for him. Ivar's waiting for him. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. To where you're like, all right, maybe I can understand you beating Ivar or beating Otis. All right, yeah, I'm with you, right? But you're gonna beat Otis, then you're gonna beat Ivar, then you're gonna beat Bronson Reed, then you're gonna beat Braun Breaker, then you're gonna beat Gunther, then you're gonna okay, this is getting ridiculous. Like, you can only tell that so many times before it's ridiculous. Yeah. So again, I know I said I wasn't gonna go off on too much of a rabbit hole, and it was only a few minutes, so hopefully it's not.
No, it's fine.
But like, yeah, it's that's kind of my thoughts on it. Is sure you can look at it as unfair, but I'm just happy that he's on TV. He was one of my favorite wrestlers in NXT UK. When he was Jordan Devlin, man, oh man. I mean, he was so darn good. And I mean, I wish that he would say his catchphrases more, but he's in the Judgment Day, so he can't. So like it made me feel really good when he did a little promo before the Gauntlet match a couple weeks ago when he said, I don't care if you believe in me or not, you should never bet against an ace. And he always used to say, you never bet against an ace in NXT UK. And I'm like, yeah, you said his catchphrase. That's
Interesting.
Because his nickname is the Irish Ace. So you never bet against an ace. And it's like, yeah, that's good. That's real good. I like it. So,
if Judgment Day were to split apart, whether it's right after Mania, a month or two after Mania, a year from now, because I mean, WWE is also very good at teasing breakups, but then drawing that breakup out over 4-6 months, a year. I kind of like to see him take up with Finn. I think a little bit. I think that would that would help him get out of the shadow of all 4 other people on Judgment Day. Priest would be on his own, Dom on his own doing thing. And where I have going with this, if I'm with beginning of the end, I'm gonna just kind of get out in front of where I think this match is going for the most part. I don't think Judgment Day is retaining here. So that's why I think it's beginning of the end. I think and that was kind of my catalyst for Priest cashing in on Drew, on the Seth Drew match from last week's podcast to go listen to. But it's because I think Priest is going to want gold. So if he loses tag title matches, he can go get that gold with Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank. So, we talk about Pretty Deadly or in A-Town Down Under. We're not sure. At this point, it's still A-Town Down Under. That's on the card for this match. Could get changed to Pretty Deadly after we record this, but as of right now, I'm treating it as A-Town Down Under on there. I think that's probably the least likely team to win. I don't want to say weak link. I don't think they couldn't win it. I just don't think they will. But here's where I'm kind of we've been talking about splitting the titles. Right? Split it at Mania. Before you even start the match, have Nick Aldis come down and he's going to present a brand new belt for the Tag Champs, and they're going to call it, let's just call it the Universal Tag Team Champions. Just go with Universal title on SmackDown. Sure. So they hang that one up. Then Pierce comes down with the other one, and we call it the WWE World Tag Team Champion. So he hangs up those set of belts. So we have 2 sets of belts above the ring for the tag match before it even starts. So that's why I see splitting it. I've heard some other theories out there. I have a feeling you have a theory out there because we've been both wanting to split these. But I think it'd be fun. I think we even get a little bit of a bit from R-Truth. Thinking, he's like laid out to the ring or something, and he totally misses the new belts or whatever, and he comes out and he's like, "Wait, what? Where are all the belts?" or something. I don't know. I think you could do a fun bit with R-Truth there and be like, "Did Judgment Day already lose? What?"
Right.
I hope we get some funny bits with R-Truth throughout this match. I think New Day. I don't expect them. I think they're a dark horse at best to win, but they don't really seem to be positioned as your Raw champions right now. Wouldn't be surprised at all if they won it, but I don't feel like that's what they're doing right now. I think they're there just to give us good spots. We know they're going to take a beating. We know they're going to give us acrobatic spots with Kofi. Xavier Woods is going to be one of the toughest guys in that match. Getting hit with ladders and stuff, hitting other people with ladders. It's going to be total chaos. I seriously still can't wait for this match. It might be one of my favorite outside the Bloodline matches. So I'm kind of down to picking a winner between Awesome Truth, DIY, and New Catch Republic. Or Brawling Brutes, as we like to call them, but they're now New Catch Republic, so whatever there. I think New Catch Republic leaves as the Universal Tag Champs. Again, almost just because you only have 2 SmackDown teams to kind of win one of the belts. So unless you take someone else to win those belts and move them to SmackDown, which you could very well do. Maybe you could do that with the New Day. Maybe they, do that. So New Catch Republic gets the Universal Tag belts. I think Pete Dunne's going to be an excellent foil for anybody. A match with tag match, just because how brutal he can be in the ring, just breaking fingers and whatnot, stomping. Just a brutal brutal style that he has. For the world tag titles, a little more convoluted. So I have DIY taking the world titles, or taking the Raw titles, and but it's all thanks to R-Truth. I see a scenario going to where like the Miz is just knocked out on the floor, and so R-Truth is looking around what to do. He doesn't have anybody that's coming at him. He's just kind of looking around, and he sees Johnny Gargano, climbing up a ladder. And he's like, "Oh, I gotta help Regeneration X because if Regeneration X wins titles, I'm a title winner." Even though it's not the actual tag team, it's two separate tag teams. That's just gonna be our true slide. I was thinking, let's help Shawn Michaels, which I love the bits with that, So he helps Gargano and stuff. Gargano climbs the ladder, gets titles for DIY. So I'm going DIY, taking one set of titles, New Catch Republic on the other set of titles, and I'm kind of hoping that if they do split them, we have two new teams. Let's keep the tag titles kind of hot potato on both brands a little bit. Every 2, 3, 4 months, let's change them out. We got a lot of tag teams now. Let's keep them kind of going for a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing someone new every 2 or 3 PLEs. We have a bunch of PLEs lined up throughout the next few months. So I think you can always do easy contender matches that can take up time on your TV shows. Easy way to bring other teams over if you are creating 2 belts. Maybe team wants to come before the draft even. All that stuff. I think you can get really creative. If the push is for more, more tag bouts and stuff like tag team bouts and everything like that, let's change them out every few months. That's what I'm kind of hoping from this. But do you think I'm really off base with picking these two key teams?
No, I don't. I had some similar ideas to you. I had some different. So I think that we kind of went about it in a different way, but I think we ultimately got to the same conclusion. Or similar conclusion. It's just not the same. So here's what I have. So I do not think that they're going to split the titles up before WrestleMania or even at WrestleMania. On purpose. So here's my idea. So obviously the match breaks down. We're getting to the end. Everybody's down. There's only one man left standing in the ring. Or one team left standing in the ring. And that is Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
They're back!
Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. They're the only team left. Everyone else is down. Tommaso tells Johnny, go up, climb the ladder, and get the belts. And the reason why he does that is because, in case anybody tries to come in and interfere, Tommaso is there to stop them and hopefully buy Johnny enough time to grab all the belts, right? So, Johnny climbs up the ladder. Tommaso's standing at the base of the ladder, looking around, looking up, making sure everything's in the clear. Just then, as Johnny is grabbing the set of the set of blue belts. So, grabs one belt, drops it down to Tommaso, grabs the second belt, drops it down to Tommaso. Suddenly, as quick as a cat, the 50-year-old R-Truth sprints up the ladder in fear for his life because the Judgment Day are about to lose their championships if he doesn't do something. And against all odds, somehow R-Truth still thinks he's in the Judgment Day because he's just out of his mind. He runs up.
Never know what team he thinks is part of.
He runs up as Johnny's turned and dropping the belts, and he goes, he drops a little far. Oh, sorry, Tommaso. Sorry about that. Turns around, and it's too late. R-Truth grabs both sets of red belts and climbs down the ladder. And the rules of the match are, you have to grab all the belts. And so now what? R-Truth runs down, and The Miz is sitting there confused. He doesn't know what to do. And R-Truth gets out of the ring and goes up to Damian Priest, who's been put through a couple of tables after taking a big ladder spot. And R-Truth tries to, I'm sorry, Damian, I couldn't get all 4, but I got you these 2. Can you just love me still? Because I'm a puppy, apparently. And then Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa come around and start going, hey, we got the belts first. We're the champs. And R-Truth's like, no, they're the champs. They're the Judgment Day. Well, I'm giving the belts to the Judgment Day. And The Miz comes around and is like, no, we're the champs. He has 2 belts. So we're the champs. And so there's a whole argument. And Damian Priest just sitting there like, I hate my life. I hate all of my choices. And then Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce come out and they say, you know what? You're both champs. DIY, since you got the blue belts, you're the SmackDown Tag Champs. And Miz and R-Truth, you're the Raw Tag Champs. And everybody goes, yay! And then DIY moves over to SmackDown. Okay. And the reason is very simple. I think SmackDown needs a big babyface tag team. I don't really think they have one outside of New Catch Republic, which I think that they can certainly be that, but I think they're also a little bit too new and unknown of a tag team to be that big babyface tag team that's going to really help kind of solidify the belts right now. Right. I wouldn't hate it if they won it at Mania because I love Pete Dunne and I love Tyler Bate. I'm a big fan of those 2 guys as anybody. But looking at it from the eyes of a casual fan, I can kind of understand if they don't quite buy into them as much as they would buy into a DIY. So, and plus, it's DIY. It's like that's like my favorite, right? So like that's cool. And then on Raw, you have the Miz and R-Truth who get their win, kind of, I guess, on the Judgment Day. They get their comeuppance, so that wraps up that storyline for the most part. Maybe you could have the Miz and R-Truth actually fight the Judgment Day at a rematch, and then they lose. That's or they, meaning the Judgment Day, lose. Excuse me, let me clarify. That's fine. But I think that then it becomes, all right, well, how long until the Creeds win these belts? Because, so help me, they are the best tag team in the company right now in ring-wise. They just are. Yeah. And so they need to be, have the belts put on them. I don't care if you turn them heel. I don't care if you do a babyface versus babyface thing. I don't even care if you turn Miz and R-Truth heel and have the Miz turn on R-Truth because he just finally has had enough of him being an idiot. And then you have the Miz and R-Truth rivalry that somehow in 2024 we bought into. I don't know how, but whatever you want to do, the Creeds. It opens the door for the Creeds to very quickly win the belts on Raw, and then they can carry that brand. Because gosh darn it, they should. The fact that those 2 are not even in this match. Yes. When you had Sangha and whatever the other guy's name is that have not been on TV in 9 months, losing to the team that everyone knew was going to be in there, when you could have done, like, Miz and R-Truth versus, some other random team that wasn't going to make it, have DIY face them, and have Creeds face one of the other guys, and have the Creeds be in there. Yeah. Like it doesn't make sense, especially since Grayson Waller and Austin Theory are in there. It doesn't make any sense for them to be in there. They are way too entertaining of a tag team to be in a 6-man tag team match right now when you have the Grayson Waller effect, when you could put microphones in their hands, and they are a lot more entertaining than if they're wrestling. And it's not because they're bad workers, it's just because you can hate them much easier when they open their mouths, and that's like that's your legend spot at WrestleMania. Yeah. To me, go on the Grayson Waller effect and have Stone Cold Steve Austin suddenly come out and they're like, oh, what the heck are you doing? And then they die, right? Like, so something. Yeah. But anyway, that's my kind of thing is split them up at WrestleMania on accident. Okay. And here's why I think that it's actually going to happen that way. Michael Cole spoiled it. I don't know if I haven't seen anybody talk about this, and maybe I'm looking way too much into it. But
everything counts.
But when there was, I don't remember what the tag match was on Monday that this came up. I guess. Oh no, I do know what it was.
Judgment Day.
It was DIY and Miz and R-Truth, or a New Day versus the Judgment Day, and Michael Cole said, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to exactly quote it. As far as I am aware, both the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles will be hung above the ring. They have not called them the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles for years.
Nope.
And he said that. Yep. And I have been taught over the last 2 months, everything is done and said for a reason.
Yep.
You can chalk that up for Michael Cole just saying Raw and SmackDown by accident. Or you can be like me and know that Michael Cole has been doing this for 27 years and he never makes mistakes like that. Never.
Yep.
So I think that just gave it away, that they're splitting it back up to Raw and SmackDown.
Let's do it. It's about time.
So that's the way it goes. DIY on SmackDown, have them go over there, run Friday nights, and Miz and Morrison. Dear God. Miz and R-Truth, way too far. Miz and R-Truth can get their comeuppance on the Judgment Day.
Like you said, the fact that we're talking about the Awesome Truth being title contenders, likely winning it, because I know they're favorites.
At WrestleMania.
Like,
big crowding moment that everybody likes. It's nuts.
You know, it's nuts. Crazy, and it just shows how great wrestling is right now, how people have gotten behind wrestling right now. This works because they had to turn Miz a face to face Gunther, and he's done so well as a face. But I mean, Miz just knows his business like the back of his hand. Like, he's so underrated. You know, he's so fun to hate as a heel, but man, I've enjoyed him as a face so much. And again, the stupidity of R-Truth paired with Miz is just another perfect storm where, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they are the belt holders after Mania is over, after this match is over at Mania, that'd be a great, perfect time to turn Miz back heel, to lose belts, because it's like, I'm done with you, Truth. Then we can spend, a couple weeks of Truth just following Miz around forever, and,
Yeah. I hate you! I hate you so much! I love you too, man. Just,
So continuing our tag team palooza. Let's get one of these other matches out of the way. This is a match where I thought was gonna devolve into LWO versus Legado del Fantasma. It doesn't. It didn't. We're actually going to get Dominic Mysterio teaming up with Santos Escobar due to him interfering in Santos and Rey's match a couple weeks ago versus Rey Mysterio and a new wrinkle added this past week on SmackDown and Dragon Lee. I don't think I have to ask you about your excitement level for this one. It's probably one of the... And I'm kind of the same where I'm not invested in this match a ton. I think it's going to be fun just because it's Rey Mysterio. We love watching Rey. Part of me, again, like, my two biggest thoughts for this match, I think, in the lead-up is... Again, I was kind of hoping for faction versus faction. If you don't involve Dragon Lee in this, it's perfectly set up for Dominic to come in as that fourth person for LWO. Sorry. Dominic to come in as that fourth person for Legado del Fantasma. They need an acronym like LWO. They just need another
LDF.
Acronym. Sure, I don't know. Anyway. LWO, Legado. We'll just go with that. And then you have Carlito sitting there in LWO, who's gotten involved, and I think he had a match with Santos at one point, while Rey was hurt as kind of like a proxy for Rey. But Carlito hasn't done much but spit a few apples here and there on SmackDown a couple times. It was a great pop when he came back with Puerto Rico last year. That was great. That was cool. That was a nice moment. But I feel like he hasn't done much more. So that's why I was kind of hoping for LWO versus Legado, because we actually get Carlito back in the ring.
Yeah.
Or at least if you can go 2-on-2, I figured it was going to be Carlito with Rey instead of him calling up Drake and Lee. And I feel a lot of people kind of wish instead of Drake and Lee being called in this, it would have been Andrade, because even though Dominic's trying to get on Andrade's side, it would have been interesting to see Andrade pit against the other side, because, I think Andrade has a lot of respect for Rey, so them teaming up for this, and if you could have done turns or whatever with that too, if you didn't want Andrade as a face for very long. But I think it makes more sense of Dragon Lee over Andrade, just because you have that history between Dominic and Dragon Lee with North American title bouts. that they've had. But I mean, again, I kind of wish it would have just been no Dragon Lee. You already had a 4-3. Legato just needed one person. They had in Dominic. So I mean, again, a tag match between these two guys. I think it'll be good. I oddly think Dragon Lee is going to pick up the win here instead of. I think that team will pick up the win, but I think it's going to be Dominic Lee pinning Dominic. I think Dominic's there for the pin. And I think that just furthers Dominic just being mad at his dad. It's like, oh, you couldn't beat me yourself. You had to bring in this guy to beat me. I think that leads to whether it's another week or two. But I think that just stews with Dominic for a little bit. It kind of goes back into the boiling pot of Judgment Day kind of falling apart to where, eventually Dominic challenges Ray one-on-one. He's like, Dad, if you lose, you're retiring. You're leaving. You're getting out of here. If you win, you can stay. But if you lose, you're done. You're retiring. And I think, in 22 years for Rey Mysterio in WWE will be July. So, I mean, that lines up pretty well with Money in the Bank. So, I mean, I think you could set that up. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind. That's where I wouldn't mind seeing this program go. I'm curious if that's where this program goes. I think Dominic losing doesn't really hurt Legato. If you really want to try to say, let's protect Legato, whatever, Santos. And, I mean, obviously a PLE win for Dragon Lee helps out a lot because we haven't seen him a lot because he's been back and forth between NXT for
Yep.
Or just not on TV at all.
Yeah, he stepped up. He stepped up when
he has. So
Wesley went down. Yeah.
Yes, Wesley. Yeah, he stepped up when Wesley went down. So I mean, that obviously helps him out a ton. That's where I see that going. Not much else to really say there. I think it's a stepping stone eventually to a Dominic Ray one-on-one again, and I wouldn't be surprised if I'd say, hey, Dad, you lose, you retire.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Certainly down the road I could see it. In terms of this match, I really couldn't care less. The only reason I'm going to care at all about this match is because I love Dragon Lee so much. Been a big fan of his for years now, and I was very happy to hear when he was coming over to WWE. And I just think he's so darn good. I mean, him and Pete Dunne had a fantastic match on SmackDown about 2 months ago, give or take, right before Tyler Bate got called up. So however long ago that was. I mean, absolutely wild how good that match was. One of the best free TV matches I've seen all year. Great. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It was fantastic. So he's just really good in the ring. To me, I mean, you really missed such a easy opportunity to have Andrade be in this rivalry. Yeah. Literally, these two things are happening congruently, right? I'm going to spell it out. Andrade, last when he was in WWE, was in a faction with Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. That's right. Their manager was Selena Vega of the LWO. Dominic just told on Monday Andrade that he needs to take care of some Judgment Day business in order for him to be in the Judgment Day. And so you're telling me that you couldn't put Andrade with Santos Escobar and have him be his tag team partner against Ray and Dragon Lee? You could have so easily during that promo on SmackDown not had Dominic come out and just had the LWO come out and Ray say, I don't care which person you choose to be your tag partner. It's me and it's Dragon Lee versus Santos and any one of your stooges that you feel like picking. And Dominic goes to Andrade and says, hey, you want to be in the Judgment Day so bad? Go take care of my father. Go beat the ever-living crap out of my father and that stupid Dragon Lee that he picked over me. That would make so much more sense. It would be so much more entertaining because now Dominic is ordering hits on his own father.
And that would further that story that we haven't had for a while.
Yeah.
So much. Yep.
And then Ray could come out on the next Raw and Dominic, and he could be like, hey, Dominic, really? Like, I thought we were done with this. And then you just pick right up where they are right now. That's it.
Yep.
And it so boggles my mind that they are telling both stories at the same time, but separately.
Yeah, it's weird.
Where you have all these reasons for Andrade to have been involved, and he's not involved, and yet he's going to be involved with the Judgment Day and with Dominic, but over here.
Right.
And it's just like, what? 2 plus 2 equals fish. Like, come on. Just some kind of over there. Like, I'm just going to get an aneurysm over here.
I think you'd almost have a Raw version of Judgment Day and a SmackDown version of Judgment Day, and they completely run the company more than the Bloodline does.
Yeah, and when Santos Escobar takes the pin, Andrade can just look at him in disgust and walk off, and then Dominic can be like, well, guess what? You're not in the Judgment Day. And Andrade's like, oh, cool. Well, then I'm going to kick your butt. That sounds like a good alternative for me. No. I just like violence. And then, you do Andrade versus Dominic, and that'd be a fun, nice little first feud for him. Like, just something other than what stupid thing we got. Now, obviously, if it ends up leading to, Dominic versus Ray in a retirement match, sure, fine. And I guess you can have Dominic win that and have Ray retire.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm stretching that, but yeah.
But I think that makes the most sense. But the problem with me is like, okay, well, guess what? You know what? Unfortunately, who doesn't go? The LWO. Mm-hmm. They don't leave. And so, like, are they just gonna like try and kill Dominic forever now? Like, is this gonna be a never-ending rivalry for the rest of time? Because like, I'm not okay with that. Like, there needs to be some other stories going on. Like,
right.
The LWO is going to either have to disband and go all their separate ways and be their own characters, or they're going to have to get some fresh feuds other than the same 4 to 6 people all the time. So it's just going to... It gets exhausting. I mean, think about it. Ray has been feuding with the Judgment Day and Legado del Fantasma since last year's WrestleMania.
Right, because that's what led to their one-on-one match.
This is all one story. Santos was with Ray, and now he's against Ray.
Right.
So he's literally been with the same people for a year plus, and it's driving me nuts. What's the ultimate goal then? Dominic versus Bad Bunny? I don't know. It's just so I really
Bad Bunny can roll, so
he sure can. And as much as entertaining as that match would be, for this match though, the only reason I care at all is because of Dragon Lee, and he's going to be at WrestleMania, which I think is great.
Right.
Like I think it's awesome for him. But poor Carlito, I mean, goodness.
Yeah, that's what I don't get either. It's like
why'd you even bring him back?
Or you could have done so many different directions than what we have here. Again, it's not a bad thing with Dragon Lee, like you're saying, but yeah, who are you taking in this match? This match that this probably the lowest.
Yeah, Dragon Lee gets the win. Sure, I don't care. I don't care.
Make your pick.
Dragon Lee gets the win. That makes the most sense, I guess, storyline wise. Further the rifts in the Judgment Day, I suppose. Sure. I don't know.
Well, continuing our tag team palooza to back to the women's side. We'll go to the women's side.
One and I'm much more excited about.
Yes, that's what I figured. And to me, it's kind of like, if we're looking at the possibility of a career ending, we're definitely looking at we are definitely looking at a career that's starting to finally begin. I think it's interesting that they went to Jade for the third person, in this whole feud between Damage Control and Bayley. Obviously, we saw Naomi come to her aid first, and then Bianca's kind of like, okay, I guess I'll help. I don't want to, but I got nothing else to do.
Yeah, literally.
And then Jade just comes out and just stands there, and it's like, yep, they're in trouble.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think that's a nice touch. I think this match honestly could serve everybody involved in a certain way. But especially Jade. I think Part of me is, I think Jade and Friends. I think that's what I'm just gonna call them for now. We don't have a faction name. For
the X-Men might as well just call them
sure.
the X-Women. Sure. There you go.
There we go. Jade. So I obviously I think they have Jade. They're gonna win. I think
and Jade's gonna get the pin.
She has to get the pin. To me, it's kind of it comes down to who takes the pin for Damage Control? I don't think you can give it to
Kai.
Yeah, really? Okay. I was thinking actually Kyrie, just
that works.
Because I feel like they're building up Dakota to kind of be the spokesperson leader for the team.
That's why she gets the pin. Who took all the losses for Damage Control when they were original? Bailey.
That's true.
Bailey.
That's true.
Always Bailey losing.
So yeah, maybe it's Dakota there. The one I just definitely think was Asuka. I feel of anybody, she has the most clout. So it's you don't need Asuka to be taking the pin out there, even if it's something to help Jade. But again, I feel like again, this match kind of can help showcase them all. We haven't. Trying to actually think. I meant to look this up. While you're talking about what you're thinking about this match, I'll look it up. But I was trying to think of if we've seen last time we saw Damage Control or women's tag titles. I don't think they've been defended on a PLE, but once or twice. On
a pay-per-view? Yeah. Barely ever.
Yeah.
It's always defended on Raw or SmackDown, or even NXT.
Yeah, and they're not even being defended here, so, at least, again, like I said earlier, at least they got a match. I think it's, again, shocking if Damage Control won. I think this gives us... I think this can serve a lot of things. I think you could start really building up Jade here. She defeats Damage Control, and they all come at her. So you line up a match with everyone of Damage Control, that's one after the other, and then you just start feeding the rest of the women's roster on SmackDown to Jade. By that time, you're probably close to the draft. Put Jade over on the Raw and start feeding everybody on the Raw roster, about a couple people to Jade on the Raw roster.
Sure.
And that I think you could stretch that out enough to where essentially you get to almost next year's Rumble or Mania, and you finally give her a title match. And then
I think that's certainly going to be the plan. I think right now you've got enough stories in your women's division to carry you through. And you can tell, alternate stories with Jade. By alternate, I mean she can have one-on-one matches with big-time women that are not necessarily fighting for a title right at that moment. You could have her fight Shayna Baszler. You could have her fight Nia Jax. Good grief, Nia Jax. You could have her fight Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch.
I think that's what we're looking forward to the most.
Anybody in that range. Charlotte when she comes back.
Oh yes,
that would be an absolute. I mean, Charlotte, as much as it is a meme, how many titles she wins,
she's trying to get to her dad's record.
She puts on the best match of any woman on the card, and she just does. I mean, that's just a fact, objectively speaking. And yes, she is better. Unfortunately, she usually is better in the ring than Becky. She's usually better in the ring than Bianca. Rhea, it's a toss up now because Rhea's just so good. Technically in ring wise, but Charlotte in her prime, when she's at her best and she cares, very rarely does she have a bad match.
And I think having Jade on this roster, she's going to come back and she cares.
Oh yeah,
that could honestly be fun. A Rumble return for Charlotte next year. I don't know if that quite fits in the timeline of her injury and the recovery and stuff or not.
I don't
know. And then have Jade win the Rumble. She returns at Rumble, but have Jade win the Rumble and. You could just, I think that's, do a slow build. Obviously, we know Jade's going to be dominant, but let the people see that she's going to be dominant. Because I would say, a majority of the WWE fans, casual, even hardcore ones, majority of them probably have never seen her wrestle on AEW or not wrestle very much. So, I mean, put her in matches, Meechin and to start off, and then you start building her to the Shayna matches and the Nia Jax matches, and give her a Becky at day one or Survivor Series or something to be she's okay. Her rivals now, she's gonna start her ascension, and we get to that Rumble win, and I think you could have a lot of fun just building her up, and she'd be the next dominant one.
Sure.
So I mean, and honestly, out of this too, with Bianca and Naomi. I think for a brief period, We were talking about earlier about women's tag teams. Let's put Bianca and Naomi together for a little bit. I think you could eventually use that to turn Bianca heel if you want to, put Bianca as a heel, or Naomi as a heel if you want to go the other direction. But let's have them as a tag team for a little bit. I think they'd be really good, formidable. Again, women's tag team depth isn't there. We obviously can tell that Triple H likes his tag team division right now. So let's, the men's is built up now. He's called up a good amount of teams for NXT. Let's build up that women's tag title division a little bit more, and I think you could start with Bianca and Naomi.
Yeah, and you've also got Isla Dawn and Alba Fire that are sitting on the sidelines that haven't done a whole lot.
We saw them once, and then they just kind of just trickled away.
So I think that you've got that ace in the hole, if you want to call him an ace. So yeah, I'll say this about this match. So when Jade came out the second time, I did this. Give me a minute. So that's what I did. The reason is because, first of all, I just wasn't expecting it. Second of all, I think that I was so worried that we weren't getting Jade at all at WrestleMania. And it's like, goodness, you made all this hype, and you brought her out at the Rumble, and everyone went nuts, and she looked fantastic.
Yep.
And then you just didn't do anything with her for at all. Like, that would have broken my heart. So while this isn't the spot that I would have liked to see her in, as I mentioned before, it's a spot.
Right.
And it's going to be a good one. She's with 5 fantastic workers.
Yes, exactly.
And so if you can't have a good match with those 5, I genuinely do not know what to tell you.
Right.
So, it's going to be great. The thing that I worry about, and I didn't mention this, I didn't think about it until afterwards. We talked about the Bayley and EO match last week. The thing that I worry about with that kind of trickles into this as well, is when Bayley wins, right? Because I truly believe that Bayley's going to walk away. I don't think it's really much of a weird, like, how the heck is it? Now that she's got allies, I think it's pretty obvious.
Yes.
What after that then? Like, what do you do from there?
Right.
Look at the SmackDown roster right now. Where's the pivot for Bayley?
Yeah.
Do you just
everybody in this match?
Do you keep feuding with Damage Control? And maybe you do. Maybe Io gets her rematch, and then you face Dakota Kai, and then you face Asuka. I don't know, but let's just say that maybe you do the Io rematch, and then you do the Dakota Kai match. Okay, so let's put those two. So that takes you what? 3 months out? Let's just say 3 months.
Money in the bank, easy.
Yeah, sure. 3 months out. Then what?
Right.
If there's not a draft, which there could be a draft by then, I don't know. But let's just say that there's not. What then?
Yep.
Do you then...
Well, if you can get to Money in the Bank, give the Money in the Bank.
Sure, but do you pivot to like let's say that you don't want to cash in right away, because I think that it's going to be Chelsea Green. I'm shooting my shot right now. There's nobody that'd be better with that briefcase than Chelsea Green. I mean, you can't tell me otherwise.
That'd be annoyingly entertaining.
Oh, it'd be a hot mess. Get it? Because theme song? Because she's this...
Again, annoyingly entertaining.
So, her theme song is "I'm a Hot Mess." That's her whole... Anyway, for those of you who don't know. Good inside joke there. But, yeah, let's say you don't want her to cash in right away because you want to... I mean, I would let it breathe. Let her be an annoying briefcase holder for 6 months. I think that'd be awesome. It'd be annoying as heck, and I would hate every second of it, but that's the point. Like, she'd be doing her job.
You're right. Wrestling is doing its job when it makes you feel in love or hate for a certain wrestler. They're doing their job.
So if you don't do that right away, then what are you left with on SmackDown? Tiffany Stratton? Do you go right to Tiffany Stratton and have her lose, or have her win the title?
That'd be tough,
that's a difficult call to make. I think you could. I mean, she's that good. But it would just be a difficult call to make, and I'm not sure Triple H wants to, who's the king of kings and the king of the king of long-term storytelling. I don't think you want to. He's not somebody that would throw her into that spot right away. So like, what do you do? Where do you go? That's the only thing that worries me. But again, that's months from now. They have plenty of time to figure it out, and there's probably going to be a draft before then. Yeah. So then you can bring over some Shayna Baszlers and some Nia Jax or somebody like that to
Call
kind of
up
feud with
someone.
Call up a Roxanne Perez who's a heel right now, and she's been ready for 2 years, for crying out loud. Just call her up already. So you just never know. But with this match, easily Jade's getting the win. I'd say she probably pins Dakota. Because
I just want to see Jade dominate. I think you have to give her spots with each person damage control. They take each other out. I think like something like a double suplex where like Kyrie jumps on top of Asuka while Asuka's on Jade's shoulders and she double suplexes both of them or whatever.
Yeah.
Give her some nice. Be like, wow, this is a 4 spots. I don't expect this to be a long match. 8-10 minute match. I assume it'll be quick, but. Just give her good spots to show, like, wow, this is a woman that's going to be hard to reckon with for anybody on this roster for the next few months.
Absolutely. All right.
So yeah, we're agreeing.
Get to the one that I care about the least.
So we got a Philadelphia Street Fight as another tag match here.
Hopefully you guys have watched part 1. If you haven't, go
this
back
should not be the Street Fight.
We talked about the matches that we want to be a street fight. It wasn't this one. Let's put it that the match, the card needed a street fight.
Can we just put these guys back in the Battle Royale and pull out Andrade and Ricochet and everything and have them do a tag match?
Please.
Okay.
That'd be great. But unfortunately, they've been telling this story for months, and we all knew that it was going to come to this, and unfortunately, it's a street fight. And I guess I can kind of understand it because they've had a blood feud, and they've interfered in each other's matches over and over again and cost each other this and cost each other that and injured each other after I understand. But we all know the Final Testament's going over here. Because if you don't, you just created a super faction that's dead in the water on arrival. So you know what's going to happen.
Yes.
Why does this need to be a street fight? Why can't... Honestly,
probably doesn't make
I would rather have it not be a street fight because I kind of just want to see Karrion Kross win a wrestling match first.
Yes.
Like, I understand he's a big boy and he hurts people, but he doesn't win wrestling matches.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the last time Bobby Lashley and Karrion Kross had a match together, it was in a United States tournament match, and I think Bobby Lashley won in like 6 minutes. Karrion Kross needs to show me he can win a regular match before he wins a street fight, and I'm going to care. That's just the way I look at it. Just look at the two teams. You got Karrion Kross, who's not quite as big as Bobby Lashley, but he's still a big boy. And then you got the Twin Towers standing next to Karrion Kross, and you got the Street Profits, who are not Twin Towers.
No.
It's not going to shock anybody when they win. So it just makes no sense to me why.
Yeah. Back in March, they had a no contest.
Did they wrestle earlier this month?
Okay, here we go. The first round, Bobby beat him in 9.5 minutes.
Okay, what did I say? 7 minutes? I was close.
But essentially, I mean, he lost to, he's defeated Cedric Alexander. Ridge Holland beat him at a house show a couple times.
But yeah, look at it. He's lost to Ridge Holland.
He's lost to Butch
3 times. He lost
Santos.
twice to Butch. Yeah.
I mean, give the man a win.
It's frustrating. So, this match, I really just couldn't care less.
Would you hate me if I picked the
No, I wouldn't.
Profits?
No, I wouldn't because I don't care.
I'm not.
I would feel terrible for Karrion Kross and for AOP if they lost because I think they're dead. They're dead now. They're dead in the water.
Yeah.
Like what? Okay. There are certain, and I've said this about Karrion Kross in the past, but now it's attached to everybody in that faction now because he's the leader, and so his vibe is their vibe. That's how it works.
Right.
There are certain gimmicks that people have that you can't have them just be fodder. It makes no logical sense. When you are looking at somebody like a Bray Wyatt, God rest his soul, it would make no sense to me when he would lose every week. He's a cult leader. People are supposed to believe in him and follow him, and he's supposed to believe that he is a god. That is the whole point. Now, you can argue whether that should be a part of wrestling or not, but it made no sense when that guy lost all the time. I'm not saying they can never lose, but They can't lose every week.
Yeah, he had that mystic aura where it's like he'd lose matches he was supposed to win. We've obviously talked about the Hell in a Cell matches. This went horribly wrong with him and Rollins.
Yep.
You know, and this is just another almost case that where Cross is so good at NXT with Triple H. Cross obviously got ruined when Vince called him up because he thought he had someone, then completely buried him immediately. And we've talked about that a bunch of times too. So it's like when he finally got back up or back into WWE, we're like, oh, maybe this is something. Maybe we have something here. Then he disappeared again, and now he has a faction with AOP. We're like, whoa, AOP's back again. And here's two other tag teams for you, by the way: Street Profits and
true.
AOP. But I mean, obviously they're doing the more faction where they're almost more like the supporting role. But again, how many times have we seen New Day? How many times have we seen factions? DX. You had gold in everybody for long, Bloodline, etc. We can go on and on about that. It's like, just like this Suit Profits, as I like to call them. Some people call them the Pride. We've talked about that off camera before.
It's the worst name I've ever heard.
I'm calling the Suit Profits. I like that better.
The Suit Profits,
So then you got Final Testament, which I think is kind of a interesting, brooding type of name.
Fine.
I think it works.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm not against it.
Doesn't bother me.
No, I'm not against it. So it's like you build him up as this dark entity, and then it's kind of like you were saying with Bray, and it's just like, this feud has been going on since AOP came back, and that was that before Rumble? Heck, was that even last? That might have even been last year.
Oh, it was way before Rumble. Yeah. It was, I think, the week before.
This might be going on 6 months.
I think it was the week before Survivor Series.
I don't know if
that they first attacked them. But anyway, the point that I was trying to make was that Karrion Kross's whole gimmick is fall and pray, I'm going to destroy you, and then I'm going to destroy the world. That's his whole gimmick. Yeah. Now, you could say that the gimmick is crap if you want to. I don't care. If that's the gimmick, if that guy loses every week, then every time he comes out and says, fall and pray, be afraid of me, everybody's going to be like, no, you suck. Like, the gimmick's dead in the water. You can't do that. Now, I love Chad Gable more than just about anybody. But when he loses every week, it makes sense. Because of his character, because of his work, because of the way that he wrestles, he can pull off losing every week. And it's not going to destroy him forever.
Right.
If Karrion Kross loses every week, it destroys him forever. So it's and by the way, you mentioned it. I'm going to say it. I think Karrion Kross had the second worst NXT call-up of all time. The first worst was not her fault. It was Chelsea Green. Not this time, the first time. People don't remember Chelsea Green when she got called the first time because she entered for a match and then got injured. And then 9 months later, came back for a second match, re-debuted, and got immediately injured again. And then got released. Yep. And it's like one of those things where you sit there and go, oh, this poor girl. Like, that's awful.
Stinks for anybody.
So, it's one of those things where you're like, man, like, that's clearly the worst just because of terrible luck. But in terms of just decision-making, Karrion Kross is the worst NXT call of all time. Undefeated NXT champion. You call him up with no Scarlet, no cool entrance, and no uniqueness, and a stupid mask, and you lose to Jeff Hardy in 2.5 minutes. It made literally 2.5 minutes. It's not an exaggeration. The worst NXT call I've ever seen in my life. There was literally you could have called them anybody else. But the point is that, goodness gracious, this is Karrion Kross's last chance.
Yeah.
For years, people have been saying this guy's boring, he stinks, they're doing nothing with him, just release him, just let him go to AEW, let him go back to TNA, whatever. I'd like to see him back in TNA, quite frankly, now with the way the company is. But this is his last chance. If he loses this match, they're dead. They're dead in the water. He's dead in the water. His career's dead in the water. That's it. He's getting released within the next calendar year. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
They need to win this match in order literally for him to have a job.
I even have a great scenario for him to even get over even more, not just win it. It's like Lashley puts him in a couple, two different hurt locks. One gets broken by interference. He gets that second hurt lock in, but Karrion breaks out of it. It's like, holy cow, Karrion broke out of the hurt lock, and then pins someone from AOP because Lashley tags out or whatever. But I mean, what better way to build up Karrion Kross than someone like Lashley that has that strength? It's like, no, Karrion Kross can go against toe-to-toe with this guy.
Yeah.
AJ Styles, they used AJ Styles to somewhat bury him, and then, he went away for a little bit, and that's when they brought in AOP last fall. So, but, I think if I have that timeline right. But I mean, it's like, this is, they have to win this. He has to win this. You're not hurting Lashley and
the Street Profits
by putting him in a loss, especially because they have cred. They have credibility. Like Lashley
can go street cred.
Hey.
I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
Please don't unsubscribe. Please don't unsubscribe.
Keep watching, please.
Please don't leave.
We got the best com here.
Please don't leave me.
It's we're both picking them. They have, he has to win. It's like, it's like you're saying, like some guys are there for being fodder, like the Jade and McDonald's, like we were talking about earlier, that can help put over people well. Karrion Kross doesn't fit in that category. He fits more in that close to monster status where he's like, he's a good wrestler, he knows how to do this stuff. He had success in NXT, multiple title wins, held multiple titles there. I forget what championship he held. He might have, I think it was the NXT title. That's when I first got to start into NXT. I'm like, ooh, this guy's
He won the NXT championship in like 2 months.
Yeah,
from his debut.
Yeah, because and just like, this guy's interesting. And then like, so I don't think I have to beat that anymore. I think we know who's going to win.
Yeah, and I'll say this.
I think we know who we're picking to win there.
Sure, and I'll say this to finish this part out. This is Karrion Kross's final testament. This match is. If he loses,
I know you're not really being.
This is it. Yeah. Like his career is dead. Like, and I don't want it to be. This isn't me wishing that his career was dead if he loses this match. Of course, I hope that they turn it around, but I don't see how they can.
Yep.
If they do all this hype and all these big bad monsters are going to take over the business, and they lose their first feud, look at what happened to the Nexus when they lost their first main feud. They were dead in the water. They couldn't save them. There was no saving them. Yep. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope they win.
Let's get to another. Let's get to a better topic. It's not a tag match. It's one of the few tag matches one of the few non-tag matches on tonight's list. Intercontinental title match.
Yes.
Gunther, Sami Zayn. And I gotta say, that training montage, that video package, whatever you want to call it, with Chad Gable on Raw last night.
Yep.
What a piece of work that was.
It sure was.
Well shot, well told. Someone else mentioned. I gotta give credit for someone else that mentioned it. Didn't realize at first with Jason Jordan in that too, so that was kind of a little fun. Alpha Academy back in the day.
Or not Alpha. Wait.
Yeah, I thought they were
American Alpha.
American Alpha. Sorry.
Yes.
American
Close enough.
Yeah, American Alpha, but get the Alpha Academy. Sure, let's go with that, right? Yep. Anyway, but I mean, that alone was like, Sami might have a chance of this.
And I think that's the problem.
Yes, I do too. I do think this is going to be a long match. We know Sami and Gunther can both go endurance long matches. Sami is the kind of one of those king of comebacks. Like, you don't count him out until he's literally unconscious on the mat. This would be a better street fight than.
No, I don't ever. If I can have my way, I would never have Gunther wrestle anything but a standard one-on-one match if you can help it. Outside of like tag matches and like, or like war games, if you want to put Imperium in a war games or something like that. Like, because you don't need it.
No, you don't need
You just don't. Gunther doesn't need a chair. His hands are chairs.
Yes. And that's what it's going to, I think, eventually do Sami in,
Chairs?
No.
Oh.
Gunther's hands.
Chairs?
Gunther's hands.
Fair enough.
That are chairs.
Yes, that are chairs, yes.
What I see is how this is going, long brilliant match. We know Sami can come back time after time. He has that never give up attitude. Chad's kind of the story right now is Chad's reignited that. Interesting that it's Chad, because Chad feels he should be there, but Chad's the bigger man. He's like, I'll help you. Put you in the best position possible. Let that fire. So that video package was very cool. Really enjoyed. Just well produced. That and the Drew McIntyre promo too, or the video package with the casket and stuff. Some really good this video package last night from Raw.
The eulogy of CM Punk and the eulogy of Seth Rollins.
Drew is doing such good work right now.
Oh, you can tell he's having a blast.
And then Rollins later that night, too. I know we're talking about the IC match here, and then Rollins even coming by later that night before his main event match. He's like, not dead yet.
Yeah.
Not dead yet. Loved it. Just The wrestlers, as fans, we're enjoying this so much, but I feel like the wrestlers are almost enjoying this a lot too, because
of course,
it's like we're telling
how
all
can
these
you
stories
not? You're selling out every night,
and just interwoven so well, and it's like backstage segments mean something. They're not just throwaway stuff. Everybody's talking about. I forget who was talking in the foreground, but when everybody started pointing out that Drew and the Wise Man were like talking in the background somewhere, and somebody, I forget what clip that was from like 2 Raws ago, where everybody like, let's focus on that instead of what's actually in front of us on screen right now. Anyway, Intercontinental title. I'm rooting heck of a hard for Sami here. He's gonna come back. Gunther likes to parade around. I think he's gonna do that a couple times when he thinks he has Sami before he goes to actually cover and try to pin him. And Sami's going to do what he did on Raw last night, just like lay on the ground, like kick on the mat. That is such a cool touch. Where it's like Sami's not giving up. I think we're going to see that once, if not twice, throughout this match. I think this will get close to that triple threat match that we had at Clash of the Castle a couple years ago with Gunther, Drew, and Sheamus. I think as far as the physicality of this, because again, Sami's shown that he can take beatings. Took one from Roman last year, for goodness sake. So, it's like, we know he can go. I think we'll even get a couple hell of a Luva kicks in, but it's going to take 3 or 4 of those to get Gunther down. Because, Gunther is just an unstoppable force right now. So it's going to be, I think eventually comes down to where Sami's going to be like, he has one last gasp of breath. He goes for a hell of a Luva kick. He finally doesn't connect on one. Gunther takes advantage, and he's like, I can't pray around this guy anymore. I need to just shove him into the ground. A couple of choke slams or whatever you want to do there, But Gunther just like, I'm putting you down, you're staying down, and he pins him. I'm picking Gunther here. The heart really wants Sami. I think you do a lot of fun titles and, matches with Sami beyond with the rest of this roster, but I don't think it's Gunther's time to put it down yet, and partly just because of what the World Heavyweight Championship picture looks like right now. That might be, I might think different in 2 or 3 months, but I don't think it's quite Gunther's time to lose. And usually we've talked about this where the faces usually win a majority of the matches at WrestleMania because it's the time that everybody gets their WrestleMania moment.
Yep.
But I think this will be one of the few that doesn't go to the face, and Gunther is like, nope, I'm unstoppable right now. Even Sami in his training montage, and maybe you can cut to Chad Gable, where Gable's like watching TV and he's just like, I guess it's up to me now or something like that, But it's I see Sami giving his heart and giving it all, but Gunther's winning this.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I don't want to be right there.
So I thought that this match was going to go a certain way until I saw Raw last night. And I've been racking my brain for the last 24 hours, roughly, trying to figure out how in the world you're going to tell this match and this story without completely ruining Sami Zayn. Or completely ruining Chad Gable. I think, look, me personally, as much as I love Chad Gable, he was not the heart and soul of NXT when I first started watching. Sami Zayn was. He has a personal grip on my heart that very few wrestlers match. I personally would prefer to see Sami be the one that dethrones Gunther. Personally. But I'm not going to say I'm way too smart because I ain't smart at all. But I ain't stupid enough to believe that the story that they're telling doesn't end with Chad Gable being the one that beats Gunther. I just can't see how they tell this story without it being Chad. I just don't.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, then now Chad is just, he's just an absolute,
all he is a coach.
Yeah, he's a coach, and I have another word that I'm not going to use because this is a Christian podcast, and it rhymes with Lilo and Stitch. Well, we'll put it that way. Sorry, it's just that's what he would look like if he did I guess I'll just coach up the guy. I'm a good no. So how do you play that? So I think this is what happens. Speaking of NXT, speaking of Sami Zayn, one of the best stories that NXT ever told was Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. For those of you who are not aware, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been best friends for basically their entire lives. No. Obviously, if you saw last year's WrestleMania, you'll know. Great friends, brothers, basically. Well, in Kevin Owens' first night in NXT, Sami Zayn won the NXT Championship, and Kevin Owens immediately stabbed his best friend in the back to win the NXT Championship, eventually. That's what he wanted to do. Well, the next pay-per-view, Sami Zayn was getting called up to the main roster. So he had to drop the belt. Well, Kevin Owens, right? It's the only story that made any sense. How are they going to do that without completely destroying Sami Zayn's credibility? They had Kevin Owens powerbomb Sami Zayn over and 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 over again until the referee stopped the match. I think that you do the same exact thing here. Except the referee doesn't stop the match. Chad Gable throws in the towel.
Another Rocky-esque parallel here.
I think that Sami will not... I think that Chad Gable's coaching had worked so well with Sami. Because that's what you told.
Yep.
That's what you told.
100%.
That is the story you just told. Is that Chad Gable unlocked the old Sami Zayn that will never quit.
Yep.
And that Sami Zayn in NXT didn't quit.
Yep.
He literally got powerbombed essentially to death. Like, it literally, until the referee's like, please stop killing him. You're killing him. Please stop. And then Kevin Owens won the NXT. Like, they just handed him the NXT Championship. Everybody was like, what? Like, he won via referee stoppage? Like, that doesn't happen in wrestling. And so since it never happens, everybody was like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. And Kevin Owens is an unstoppable monster. Who's going to beat him? Like, this is crazy. And the beautiful thing with this is that you can do that, but different. You can have a little, it's not going to be exactly the same. It's going to be a little twist. And Gunther already has a powerbomb, so it's not like it's a force, like you're forcing it.
Right.
It is, no, literally, that's his finisher, or one of them, right? He has like 5 different ones. But like, that's his main one, I would say, that he finishes off most opponents with, is the powerbomb. And so you could just have him powerbomb Sami over and over and over and over and over to where the whole crowd is so uncomfortable. And Sami just keeps fighting, and then eventually his body just goes limp, and he just picks him up over and over again, and then Chad Gable just can't.
Yeah.
Because he's a dad. They talked about both of them being dads.
Yep.
And he just... And then, you can do like the whole thing like on Raw the next night. Sami ticked off at Chad. Like, why would you do that? And he said, because I saw the look on your son's face. And it was exactly what you didn't want to happen. And it was happening again, and I just didn't want you to go through. And then you can go in all infinite directions. Yes. You can have Chad Gable turn heel. You can have Sami turn heel. You could just do a whoever wins that number 1 contenders match fights Gunther next, and you can have Chad Gable win or whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I think that blends all the elements together. It makes Sami look strong without killing his character.
Yep.
It makes sense storyline-wise.
Yep.
Gunther looks like an absolute killer on the biggest stage to where you literally sit there and go, oh my God, who's going to stop him?
If you didn't think he was a killer before, yes, now.
He didn't even want to pin Sami. He just wants to embarrass him and destroy him, and then he does.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, like this is... Like, I think it's the story that makes perfect sense, and I know it will work because they've already done it with Sami. And... it makes sense to do that little twist of it's not the referee stopping the match. It's Chad Gable throwing in the towel. Yeah. When because you could sit there and be like, oh, why did Chad throw in the towel? Did he really do it because he wanted to save Sami? Or did he do it because he knew that Sami wasn't going to quit and he thought that he was eventually going to beat Gunther and he didn't want that to happen, so he threw in the towel because he wants to beat Gunther himself. Like, you could just tell all different stories, and it excites me. You can tell by the way I'm talking. I just think that is a perfect way. Because my thought was, oh man, can we have Gunther and Sami open one of the shows? But then I kind of was thinking through that finish, and I'm like, oh, that'd be such a depressing way to open the show. Like just a public execution to open the show. Like that's essentially what it would be. Yeah, just. Like all the kids in Grant, like, Mommy, we're at WrestleMania. He's killing him. Like, like just that would not be good. No. So, but eventually, halfway through the card, the kids are asleep by then anyway, so it's fine. But yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it. I think it's the way it's got to go.
It's just brutal. I think we're both very much in agreement with this match. A couple, just the details there. I was even thinking too of like throwing in an idea of like having Gable come down and turning on Sami during the match and not costing Sami. But I was like, nah, it doesn't seem right. But I could almost, because of the montage that we had last night, like I could almost see like Chad coming down to the ring with Sami. Mm-hmm. It's just like, I got you, buddy. Very Rocky-esque again. And we're in Philly, so of course,
Rocky, yeah. And here's another thing that you can do. So they kind of did this with Mustache Mountain, who was Tyler Bate and Trent Seven, who Trent Seven is now in TNA. But where Mustache Mountain, they had a live event in England against the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, and Mustache Mountain won the NXT Tag Team Championships. It was a big, huge moment from their hometown, or not. I don't think they're necessarily from London, but in England, obviously.
Yeah,
they're both from England. So it was like, oh my god, a huge pop. And well, the next pay-per-view, or maybe on the next NXT show, whatever it was, Tyler Bate was locked in a submission. And Trent Seven threw in the towel. After, obviously not like immediately. Like it was like he didn't want to see his partner suffering. And they threw in the towel and lost the belts. And then the rematch, there was a spot where Tyler Bate is locked in that same hold. And Trent Seven grabs the towel and he's ready to throw it in. And everybody's yelling, no, no. And Tyler Bate's like, no, please don't throw it in again. And he chucks the towel outside the ring, and he doesn't throw in the towel, and he goes, come on! And then there's a big, huge comeback. You can do, if you want to do a rematch where it's the same thing. He's powerbombing Sami over and over again, and Chad's about to throw in the towel, and Sami shakes him, no, don't throw in the towel, and Chad throws the towel away and goes, come on, Sami, keep fighting. But obviously, just like in that match, Sami loses. Just like Mustache Mountain lost that rematch. They eventually lose and you can tell the story and it's great. You want to do that? Oh, French kiss. Do that. I don't care what you do. There's so many different ways you can do it. I think that is a way to blend in every story you're telling to make it all make sense and keep everybody looking good.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
wholeheartedly agree.
Okay. All right.
We agree on this one, but I don't think we're agreeing on the rest of anything else for us this podcast.
I hope not. Because I'm going to be... Things. Well, I mean, maybe.
Maybe a few things. I don't know. Anyway.
We're back to tag team matches.
Tag team matches. The love triangle rectangle match we have going on.
The love rectangle. Yeah, big say it. Yeah, exactly.
Instead of the 4 hours, I still come up with anything here. We're finally here. We're finally to this match in WrestleMania. I can't wait for this match. It's been a weird journey to get here. It's been a long journey. It's been a confusing journey that we still haven't gotten all our answers to. I'm kind of over that, though. Like, I don't feel like... Yes, there's some answers. There's just some questions we still don't have answers to, but I think I'm okay with it. Because the match, the way they've built this match last week and a half has excited me so much that I can't believe it. I'm enjoying Boone the Rock. But at the same time, it's like.
But are you really booing The Rock?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, it's like I'm enjoying what he's doing, kind of playing the tweener role, but still being heel, ultra heel when he's there, and then the same ring with Roman and the Wise Man.
And then when he's by himself, he's still The Rock.
Yeah, no, but I mean, if anybody knows how to play this industry better than almost anybody except for maybe Triple H, it's The Rock. The fact that it's literally The Rock. I saw a picture of this on, I don't know, Facebook or something earlier today where it's like, it's our childhood heroes in wrestling are basically running the company now, with Rock on the board and Triple H head of creative. I mean, it's like, no wonder wrestling's cool again, It's like, your wrestling is finally cool again.
It's almost like if you put people in charge that know what they're doing, good things happen.
Like I said, it's been a mess. I think in a weird way, this was probably the plan for the most part, getting to this tag match.
I don't know if it was.
Maybe not. I think you could have still done, if Punk wasn't hurt, I think you could have still done Seth and Punk with the match and still put Seth in the tag match. Might have been a little more shoehorned. Might have been a little different. But I think at the end of the day, this was the idea. I just think the execution at first was bad, but I think they turned it around quick enough. And Rock did a lot of stuff to help turn around. He basically told us he was going to make Rhodes more of a babyface than he ever has been, and he kind of did do that. He didn't really lie to us there.
Right.
So I don't know. And the way this is going to bleed into the night 2 title match, in so many different ways. I think you go with. I'll get to kind of. I literally have points written down right now of what I think of like who pinning who would make a difference somewhere, and then I'll eventually get to who I think is going to pin this. But first of all, we talked about this a little bit last week. These entrances.
Oh my god!
They're gonna be so long,
especially with the long WrestleMania ramps.
It's gonna be 20 minutes, easy with all our entrances. Before I get into some of this, I have to ask you. Where does Roman come out in this? And does he come out first? Does he come out somewhere different in these? Where do you think he comes out as far as entrances? Because everybody, I feel, is going to get their own individual entrance.
I think he probably comes out third.
Okay. I think last. I think he's going to be I want to be the last one acknowledged. This acknowledge me thing. I think it's last. I think it'll be kind of like Rock's out first, then you could go either way with Rollins or Rhodes, and it's like. And both of those just have such, everybody sings along to their theme music, where I think you almost have to kind of do them back to back in a sense. So I think if you sandwich them, I don't know, it doesn't really matter to me who it is first. I just had to ask that because that's literally a whole segment in itself. All their entrances, audience cheering with each one of them, Rock just standing there posing, pointing at his arm with the goosebumps. I like it, but I'm so annoyed by it at the same time. Again, Rock's doing exactly what he said he would do, and he's doing it so well.
Yep.
I back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I wasn't super into wrestling, but I knew enough of DX, Triple H, Rock, Stone Cold, Mick Foley enough, where I knew kind of enough what was cool and stuff with them. So, this is really cool for me. It's getting him back. It wasn't quite following during the Rock Cena stuff. So, this is just all kinds of cool for me.
Sure.
Personally. And I think it's for a lot of people that might have been the more casual fan that are now, their kids are now into it. It's whoa, he can still go out there? That brawl last night was good.
It was. Very well told.
Very well told.
When you got two real stiff, slow movers beating up two guys that can bump like mad, it's gonna always look good.
Yep.
So.
Yep. This match is so hard to predict because again, I feel like you go any finish you do could mean so many different things for not only night 2 but just a month from now, 3 months from now. I hope this match starts off with Seth Rollins and Roman. I think just Rollins trash talking Roman while Roman just circles the ring in a slow plodding manner that you hate, and it can be annoying. I think
it worked for a long time, and I loved it. But then when you do the same exact thing, 4 years straight,
so I kind of hope we do that. I think we can get a lot of everybody tagging themselves in. I think literally. Rollins and Roman are going to hook up a few times, not do too much, and then Rock's just going to be annoyed, and he's going to just slap Roman on the shoulder I'm in right now. Rock does one really quick thing, then Roman's like, no, this is our match, but I'm starting this thing. You're back out. He slaps himself in, and then, we get Rollins and Rhodes trading back and forth a little bit, too, with tags. Nothing too crazy. I think it takes a good 5-7 minutes to get the match kind of going, just because that's just, again, slow prodding on one side, guys who can take a million bumps for an hour on the other side. I think when finally the match gets going, Rollins is getting beat up a lot.
Makes sense.
Because that's just kind of his thing. That was the way with the Shield and other things. That's just the way his matches go. He can take the beating. So he finally gets Cody in. And then, I don't know, I think once the match gets kind of going, when Cody finally gets in and he's revving up and stuff, I think if Rock's not in there, Rock's going to immediately get back in there, so those two can just go at it. I just think, if the fans want anything, they just want to see them punch the ever-living, just punch each other back and forth for 30 seconds. That's all I want. I think that'd just be a fun blow-off, really get the crowd back into the match. I think we're going to see Rollins get like 2 hot tags. I know it's kind of weird to say that, but I think we'll get kind of like a false finish. So Rollins, so Cody gets back in, but then Rollins gets one more hot tag. And I really feel like I think Rock and Roman we're going to tease some dissension there because they both want to be in there controlling the match, and Rock's be like, no, I haven't wrestled in forever. I want to beat these guys up. It's like, they ruined what we were going to do, cousin. So I think he just finally gets in there and just beats up on everybody, and then Ian finally gets this back to Rollins. It's, again, I'll go through these quickly. I honestly think if you went to the result of Rollins winning the match, if he's pinning Roman, I think that could be a good thing because that obviously helps their blood feud that they've had, and you could pay that off in a one-on-one match again. Finally, a few months down the road, I think Rollins pinning Rock is probably the least likely. I just it doesn't feel right, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of weird to say go with gut feeling, but if that were to be the case, Rollins I think could use that in Cody's face so much as like, I took out your biggest roadblock. You have no excuse not to go win this title now. Like, Rock's out of the equation now, in a sense. Because obviously there wouldn't be bloodline rules if Rollins and Rhodes win. I think if Cody were to pin The Rock, obviously that gives him a great comeuppance. I think that's a very likely scenario. And I think they could pay that off as a one-on-one match down the road between Cody and The Rock. This one you might find odd, but I think if Cody wins the match and he wins it by pinning Roman, I think that means the story's. I think that means night 2 is completely in Roman's favor. Even though Cody wins the match, how many times have we seen the story told of you win a tag match but you don't win the actual match when you have the one-on-one? And so I think, to me, that's the least desirable scenario. It's like, while yes, Cody pinning Roman would negate the bloodline rules, it'd be great for Cody, the crowd would love it. I think that would be I think that'd be the worst scenario for Cody. I don't know why, in a sense. I just don't feel like, again, with typical WWE, we're not really that typical WWE. I just don't think he wins night 2 if Cody pins Roman outright. I think eventually where I feel it's going to go, Rock's going to pin one of the two. Partly just because that we're just going to see him inflate his ego even more. He gets those bragging rights even more. He can point to Roman and say, "I took care of business, man. It's up to you now tomorrow night to keep this title within our family, or else," kind of thing. So I think Rock winning the match is probably what it comes down to. I think Roman pinning either of them wouldn't be bad. Obviously, again, Roman pinning Rollins pinning Roman, helps that one-on-one blood feud down the line. But I think Roman pinning Rollins almost falls in the line of that burying Rollins from a couple months ago even before the press conference, I think it was, or right after the press. No, it was before the press conference where it's like he verbally buried, Rollins in a lot of people's opinion. So I don't think that would help. I think that conversation at all. Roman pinning Cody. Obviously we get the bloodline rules with Roman, and I know I just said Cody pinning Roman means Cody probably isn't retaining. I don't lean the other way though if Roman, because to me if Roman pins Cody, that's just like, to me that's almost like the same thing of like Roman just showed he can beat him with a tag match and he's still gonna have his family members with him. So I think to suspend a little bit of disbelief for the night 2, you can't have Cody pin Roman, and I don't think we want Roman pin anybody. So that's why I go to The Rock. I think Rock's gonna, after all that, I know I just said a million names 5 million times. Bloodline's gonna win. Rock's gonna pin Rollins again, and I don't think we'll even get any interference here from anybody. I don't think we're gonna see Solo in any role here. Jimmy and Jay are gonna have their match before, so I definitely don't think we're gonna see them involved in any fashion. with this match. But yeah, this tag match, the Bloodline tag match, Rock wins for the Bloodline. He pins Rollins, and he beats up Rollins so bad where that just plays into Seth and Rollins, or Seth and Drew's match the next night between those two, because I mean that just makes it a little bit easier, and I think that's kind of like that. I think that kind of leans back in that conversation that the Bloodline and Drew have kind of going back and forth with a little bit too, of like, hey, you know, we'll help you. This is how we're gonna help you. This is what we're gonna do. This is the plan. We're gonna beat the ever living tar out of Rollins that we're gonna do in that match. To where Cody's gonna take a lot of bumps. He's gonna be bumped and battered and bruised. You know, re-injure some stuff from if you injured anything from a couple Mondays ago. But yeah, I think Rock wins this for the Bloodline, and we get a Bloodline rules match for night 2 for the title.
Okay. So, obviously, Dan just went kind of really in depth on all the different possibilities. So, I am not going to do the same thing. I am going to just simply talk about what I think is going to happen, why, and kind of go from there. Because I don't think me going back in depth on what you just talked about would make much sense at this point. I think everybody's caught up to speed with all of that. I think that while your arguments do make sense, I think that the only result that not only delivers a great story for night 2, not only allows there to be more intrigue, but helps further the story for even after night 2 into the next Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and pay-per-view all the way till next year's WrestleMania. The only one that makes sense is for The Rock to pin Cody Rhodes. Not Seth Rollins, but Cody specifically.
Okay.
And here is why. Because if The Rock were to pin Cody Rhodes definitively, where Seth is destroyed and Cody is destroyed and The Rock is the one that did it, not Roman, but The Rock is the one that did it. Kind of like what you said. The Rock gets to look at Roman and say, I took care of business for the family. That's what I do. I am the final boss. I am The Rock. You might be the head of the table. You are the tribal chief, so now that means you have to take care of business tomorrow. Because the deck is so stacked in your favor right now, Roman, because of me. He can say that. Now, he's probably not going to say those words, but you can read,
Right, yep.
And then when Cody wins at night 2, what's that going to do to Roman? The Rock took care of Cody Rhodes by himself. And he had to take care of Seth. And Roman Reigns with The Rock, with Jimmy, with Solo, with the Wise Man, with every other thing in his corner, with Bloodline rules, with what I think is going to be The Rock as the special guest referee. He loses? Who's really the tribal chief? And Roman alluded to it on Raw. He said that if he loses, he's gone. He's leaving WWE. He's done. Now, obviously, they don't have to stick to that. But when you say in a documentary, it's one thing, right? But then he said it again. They said it on Raw again. Twice, actually, as a matter of fact. They said, Roman said in his documentary that if he loses, he's leaving. And when the commentary team says it, and when they allude to it in the ring, you can say that's as good as gold. They don't say that for nothing.
Nope.
They're not going to be like, I said I was going to leave, but I'm not. I'm just going to stick around. Nope. He's going to leave. And what does that mean? What does that mean for Solo? What does that mean for Jimmy? What does that mean for the Bloodline? You know what it means? They're going to need a new tribal chief. Because the tribal chief just lost, tucked his tail between his legs, and left. And that means The Rock's going to be the tribal chief. So eventually, I think clearly you've already set up Cody versus Rock down the line.
Right.
Which, just... but it's going to be so good. But then you can have, either when that match happens, you can have Roman cost The Rock the championship, whether accidentally or on purpose. You can then have Solo be the enforcer with a choice. Does he go with the old tribal chief, or does he stick with The Rock? Or does he go out on his own? Does he choose neither? What does he do? I think clearly he probably chooses The Rock, so that you could do Roman versus Solo. And then eventually you move to Roman versus The Rock at WrestleMania, and there doesn't need to be a championship involved.
No.
It is who is the dang tribal chief.
Yep.
And at this point, if you want to have The Rock win that match, you can. If you want to have Roman Reigns win that match, you can. Now you have a story that's actually intriguing. Which direction do you go? I think that Rock pinning Cody is the only thing that makes logical sense. Now, I've obviously already spoiled what I think's going to happen result-wise night 2, but I don't think there's even a remote doubt in anyone's mind that Cody is winning night 2. Now, if you disagree, I would love to hear how you're going to explain, how WWE's going to explain, oh, well, it wasn't really the plan for Cody to, take the title. But then all of you said that you wanted him to finish the story. And so we had him not finish the story. But we gave you everything up until then. You're welcome. That's not cool. That's not happening at all.
When we started going through our WrestleMania, our bookings through the PLEs to WrestleMania, I warned you the book for Roman isn't over yet. The book for Roman wasn't over yet with the title, and I'm sticking to that.
Oh my God, Dan.
I am sticking to that.
Dan, you know what you also said? Mm-hmm. You also said that the only way you would change that is if Cody won the Rumble. You said that if Cody wins the Rumble, he has to beat Roman. And guess what? Mm-hmm. He won the Rumble.
He won the Rumble, but we didn't have The Rock at that point.
Right. But let me ask you a question. Do you still think that Cody's going to be the one that eventually beats Roman?
Sure.
Okay. I think I would argue that if you were going to do that, then Cody should just win night 1 and have it be a one-on-one match that he loses again. Because if your goal is to completely destroy Cody Rhodes' career, which is what would happen if he lost this main event.
Think so.
Oh, no, it would. Then you might as well just say, oh, well, he had it easy and he still couldn't beat him. So obviously he just has no chance. Because to me, you've said literally out of Cody Rhodes' mouth on Monday Night Raw, I could say I'll just get him next year, but I've already said that. Rock has said, I'm going to destroy your son, and I'm going to put your son's blood on this belt, and I'm going to hand it to your crying mother. Well, if Cody loses, The Rock's going to put his blood on that belt, and he's going to hand it to his crying mother. That's not exactly a WrestleMania-worthy image. And he also said, Cody does not get another opportunity at the belt if he loses. So then you've got to find somebody else to beat Roman. And if somebody as popular as Cody Rhodes, as good as Cody Rhodes, as good of an ambassador as Cody Rhodes is not the guy that you pick. There's not a human being on planet Earth other than Jesus himself that's going to beat Roman Reigns then. If that's the story you're telling, that Cody loses, then in my mind, as a wrestling fan, based on everything that I've been told and everything that I see, no human being alive is beating Roman Reigns ever for the rest of time. There is only one answer, and it is Cody Rhodes wins at WrestleMania 40, where at all of the decades of WrestleMania, 10, 20, and 30, a huge babyface title win happens. Every single time. WrestleMania 20. Chris Benoit, but we won't talk about that guy because he did horrible things. But it was a huge moment for him at that time.
Yes.
Daniel Bryan at 30. Cody Rhodes at 40. That's how it has to go, in my opinion. And I think in just about everyone else's opinion. I truly think that if you do not pull the trigger on Cody Rhodes, two things. One, Cody Rhodes' career in WWE will never be the same. He will never win a world title that means anything to anyone. This is his moment. My goodness, if it's not now, then please explain to me when's a better time. And number two, you just told every single free agent wrestler, whether they come from AEW, whether they come from New Japan, whether they come from TNA, whether they just come from independents, whether they're in the Performance Center and they're just coming from D1 college, whatever it is, you've told them it doesn't matter how good you are, we have our one guy and that guy always wins. It's Hulk Hogan, it's John Cena, it's Roman Reigns. I don't care who you are, how good you are, those guys always win in the end. And I think that's a terrible message to send to everybody who would want to come to your company. Why would anybody want to go there? Why would anybody want to go there? Oh, I'm going to be the one that beats... No, you're not. Clearly you're not.
So that's why I went to the other match, though, the tag match, though, because that's how you set this up.
Okay.
That's how you set this up. Obviously, Cody winning himself or Rollins winning the tag match, yes, okay. It'd be weird to... Because you have the bloodline rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you have the tag match, but you have the bloodline rules with these guys. So they all come down the ring all at the same time with Roman. You have Roman. You have Rock on one side of the ring, Wiseman. You have you have Jimmy. And you have Solo. We don't see Rollins. He's been beat up from Drew. He doesn't care anymore. He doesn't want to be involved in the bloodline stuff anymore. Anyway, after the first night, Jay comes down. He tries to neutralize Jimmy, but he can't neutralize everybody. He kind of takes care of Solo for a little bit, and he runs off backstage with Jimmy, but The Rock's still there. And this is how I see this playing out. Roman is realizing he's losing. He's not doing well against Rhodes. He realizes he needs this help. He's glad that Rock did what he did. So Solo gets back up. He orders Solo in the ring. Cody takes him out. No problem. He then orders Rock to the ring. Rock doesn't take this kindly. I don't think Rock takes this kindly at all. He's like, I just did all the hard work last night. You're not ordering me to get in this ring where I took care of it last night. It's your turn. Rock just walks right back out. Right back out. Crowd gets nuts. We get Cody and Roman just finally get it. Big moves, near pinfalls for both. Couple Cody cutters, couple Superman punches. A couple crossroad attempts, spear attempts. We just see big move after big move. These guys are duking it out. It's just more palpitating than it was last year. And then Cody pulls a rock bottom on Roman, and Rock's watch from the back, and that just triggers him. He's like, nope, this family can't lose this belt. Bloodline rules, so he can still do whatever he wants. Rock comes down. He's hit a crossroads on Roman. Roman misses a spear, but Rock sprinted down the ramp. He's like, nope, I'm saving this. So Cody gets out of the ring. They trade, they go back and forth. Rock eventually lays him out, throws him on top of the announce table a couple times. Doesn't break the first time, breaks the second time. So he's like, okay, we're good here. Throws Cody back in the ring. It's like, Roman, here you go. I did it. I think Cody even survives that. We talked about earlier in the night, we talked about Sami looking good after just getting beat up multiple times. Even if he loses, he still looks good being beat up. I think that's what saves Cody. And if you want to say even of his career, he still looks good. He's done all the moves. He's got to get in. He's fought against The Rock. He did it 2 nights in a row against The Rock, 2 nights in a row against Roman. He didn't have any help tonight. The second night, it takes like a Rock slapping him one more time, kind of going back to the slaps even, just to cut deep and everything. So it's Roman's there. He gets to the final one last spear. He wins the title. I don't think this ruins Cody. I don't think Cody is hurt by this. I think you write Cody off after this for a month or two. And what do you have in July? You have Money in the Bank. I know you can use whatever term you want to use that. Rhodes is still a person to take out Roman. Wholeheartedly agree with that. I don't think it's here. I think there's a couple more stories, and I think Rhodes will win Money in the Bank, and he teases it. He tortures Roman with that Money in the Bank. He tortures Rock with it. We're not going to probably even have Rock around the WWE for a 3-month stretch. I think for most of the summer. I think he has other commitments from what I've picked up on. So I think after Mania, we don't actually probably see The Rock for a little while. So I think you can keep Rock out of the Bloodline story for a little bit. Roman goes and licks his wounds. You keep a couple easy opponents. You tee up something. You don't even have to. I mean, we haven't seen Roman defend for 2 or 3 PLEs in a row. We honestly don't need to see him defend it until maybe something like Money in the Bank. We set up like another fatal 5-way for him to get an opponent at Money in the Bank or whatever. And then Cody wins Money in the Bank. However you want to do that, and then we tease Money in the Bank out. Not forever like they've done with Damian. That would be stupid for Cody. I think you tease it out for 2 or 3 months, maybe more. And maybe out of like his first almost attempt, Rock comes out and he stops him. Doesn't beat him, beats him up maybe a little bit, but whatever have you. Maybe even get to Rollins and Roman in the interim between Cody and Roman again. I don't think Cody losing hurts Cody. And I think that's why he's been built up to be even more of a babyface than he was 4 months ago, 5 months ago. I don't think you're doing that much of a build-up for him to... Yes, I can see it to win, but I can see that because of that build-up, because of these matches, brutal tag match, Bloodline Rules match for night 2, I don't see that hurting Rhodes at all. He's a person to do it. He's a person to beat Roman. I think he can still do that within the rest of the calendar year. I think it's just squeeze a couple more stories in with a couple more opponents. I think you still get your Rock Roman at some point. Next WrestleMania. I think you can easily lead up into that. But night 2 is not the night that Cody wins.
I suppose I'm going to have to just respectfully disagree because I truly, I just don't, I wouldn't be able to see how Cody could bounce back from this if he lost. Because if you think about it, it would be 2 years in a row losing the WrestleMania to the same guy. And by the way, he would have lost the tag match as well. So it's like, he wouldn't take the pin, obviously, in your scenario. But
right.
I just don't see how you recover. For me, I think... I alluded to this in part 1, so I'll expand upon it here. I think that the way you're going to have to do it, based on the way the card is laid out, is Seth Rollins is banned from ringside, so he can't help Cody.
And it's Bloodline Rules. He's not involved with anybody anyway. So
yeah. So and you could say that Bloodline Rules is anything goes, and we can since I'm meaning The Rock is the boss, final boss. I'm just going to make the rules. I'm the special guest referee. Seth Rollins is banned from ringside. You're screwed, Cody. And the reason why is because obviously Cody needs to overcome every single odd possible to make it the biggest coronation you could possibly have. Number 2, since there's no Seth, I think that to pay off this, not just year-long story or 2-year-long story with Cody, but 4 years of the Bloodline, I think you need to have an Avengers Assemble moment. To me, this story is like Infinity War and Endgame. Infinity War, everyone dies. Thanos wins.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, for crying out loud. It's like a 7-year-old movie. If you haven't seen Infinity War, that's your fault at this point. That's on you.
That's where the phrase took up.
Thanos wins. He snaps his fingers. Half-life is gone. There's no hope. You lost. And that's what night 1 is. Cody lost to The Rock. There's no hope. Rock's the special guest referee. Sets Ben from ringside. Bloodline rules. You're screwed, Cody. There's no hope. But then, what happens in Endgame? They're fighting Thanos. All hope seems lost. And then the portals start to open. On your left. And suddenly, Sami Zayn's music hits. Kevin Owens' music hits. Randy Orton's music hits. Jey Uso, obviously, music hits. And maybe because, Sami is, dead from that, maybe Sami's not involved. That would kind of be a little bit of a shame because it's Sami. And he was a huge part of the Bloodline storyline, obviously. So I think he would need to be involved. But I think at the very least, you need... I would want Jey, I would want Randy, I would want KO, and I would want Sami. Like, if you had to have a 4, those would be the 4. And they would obviously fight off Jimmy, Solo, and then The Rock. So you'd have 2 people fighting The Rock, I suppose. Yeah.
Which makes sense because you kind of need 2 for that guy anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things where Cody is Captain America. And he's sitting there, and he's just the one defiant, and his shield is broken, and he stands up, and then suddenly he gets reinforcements, and he just turns... he's like, I can finally breathe again. I'm not going to die tonight. And that's the spark that he needs. And then he wins. He beats Roman. The Rock is furious at Roman because he lost. Obviously, at that point, you can have another referee come out, clearly. We've seen it a million times. And just the whole locker room rejoices and comes out and hoists Cody on their shoulders, and that's how WrestleMania Night 2 ends. That's how WrestleMania should end, is the biggest coronation possible for a man that has worked his whole life to get there, not just for himself, but for his father, for his mother, for his wife, and for his daughter, and my goodness, for all of the charity and amazing things that he does in and out of the ring. There's no man who deserves it better. He deserves it right now. And I hope that you and I can watch WrestleMania together. I hope we can. I don't know if we can watch the whole thing together because it's 28 hours long. But we can, hopefully... I'm going to be honest with you, man. Last year was really hard for me when he lost. But at the end of the night, as ticked off as I was, I said, you know what? This isn't Cody's last chance. This story isn't over. They're going to do something. Clearly, Cody's the guy that's going to beat Roman. Just not yet. You just have to be patient. I don't know how they're going to pull it off. I don't know how we're going to wait another year. But we're going to do it. And we're going to figure it out. And we did.
Yeah.
So help me. I don't think I'm going to be okay. And I know people say that, right? And I understand that maybe I shouldn't care this much. But I truly don't think I'm going to be okay if Cody loses again. I don't know how... I don't think I'm going to be able to process it or fathom it or be able to, coherently come up with words or control emotions. I don't know. I'm going to sit there and be like, okay, so everything you've told me says that this is Cody's last chance. The whole build-up, lead-up to the match, especially if it goes the way that I had thought, which is Rock pins Cody, and then you get to Bloodline Rules, which sets up Cody's this is the most triumphant you could possibly be. You're overcoming literally all the odds. And the whole thing last year was what? Cody hasn't gone through enough adversity yet. How much more adversity is Bloodline Rules with The Rock as a special guest referee? Now, that's obviously not confirmed. That's just me speculating my theory. But, how much more adversity can you possibly have? At that point, there's no more adversity you could put yourself through. So, if that's the story you're telling, and yet you lose in the end, I think he is dead in the water. Because I think last year, people still went, well, Cody's still the guy to beat Roman, right? I think if he loses again, people are going to go, oh no, I don't think Cody's the guy anymore. I want him to be. I love him. It makes sense for him to be, but Goodness. He should have won this match if he is, right? That's the story that they were setting up for. They said on TV this was his last chance. Rock even said, Seth Rollins' championship's going to go away. And I'm going to, ruin your life. And I'm going to give your mom, your crying mother, a bloody belt of your own. And all of that. And that's horrible. Cody's not the guy. Look at, there's a rubber chicken. Oh, no, not again. I
don't think it's going to be that devastating. If he loses, I don't think it's going to be as devastating as that. I think if anybody can bounce back, it's going to be him. Whether it's Money in the Bank, whether it's another opportunity, you don't go to the Rumble, obviously, but, it's... You can't... The story we're telling is a bloodline story that we've been telling for the last three and a half years. And that story isn't ending, and I don't think the title is run as an ending. And I think that, too, because... I think they want to put another Hulk Hogan up there, and they want someone to beat the Hulk Hogan record. Roman's tied, I think is going to have tied Hulk Hogan with the most Mania headlines.
He tied the first night, broke it the second.
Yeah, tied and broken the second night. So, there's one Hogan record to break, and he's just got to, come September, he'll break the other Hogan record of, third longest title reign. And then I think that's when... Then I think we're literally in the end game, to borrow from your Avengers reference, because I think, okay, then it's then we get those Cody teases, if he does win Money in the Bank, I think if he loses, you have to put Money in the Bank on him. That is, I think, the only way to redeem him, because then, if you don't, then it's oh.
Yeah, we're done.
We are done.
Because, I don't think I could tolerate Cody wins the Rumble for a third straight year. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care because you already killed my soul twice. You ripped my heart out of my chest twice. I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is you can't say I promise I'm going to give you everything that you want and then rip it away. And then I promise I'm going to give you everything you want and then rip it away. And then I promise I'm going to give you everything. Now you can do that over a short span. You could do that with Kofi Mania because Kofi Mania was 10 weeks long or something. You did it with Kofi Mania and you ripped it away 2 or 3 times. But you can't do it for 3 straight years. That would be two countries are going to war, right? Let's say 2 countries are going to war. And for 15 years you're oh God, everybody's going to die. But nothing happens. They just talk about how much they hate each other for 10 years. After, you can't be like this for 10 straight years. You could be like this for a few hours and you're terrified. But if you're like that for 10 years, after a while you're I don't really think anything's actually going to happen. It's been 10 years and they're just yelling. This is not cool. That's what it would be like. You can't just do that for 3 straight years because it's such a long and... Especially no, don't worry, eventually he's going to win. Well, when is eventually? Because I'm late for work. I have anything else better to do than you destroying my life. And for me, I think you're much better served with Cody as your champion for the next 6 to 8 months. And Gunther wins Money in the Bank. But he doesn't cash in like any other person. He does what Rob Van Dam did and say, I'm not somebody that attacks people from behind or sneaks up on you. I'm going to fight you, and I'm going to tell you exactly when I'm going to fight you, and you have to beat me, which is kind of an impossible task to beat Gunther in anything. And I don't care who he faces. He could face Seth, he could face... Hell, have him be the one that beats Cody. We all wanted the Cody-Gunther match once we saw it in the Rumble.
Yeah.
Give it to him. Give it to us. Have Gunther beat Cody. Have Gunther be the next big dominant heel champion. Great. Perfect. That's awesome. Cody doesn't need to hold the belt for 15 years. I mean, it'd be fun, but I just think that you're much better off with that.
Honestly, no. I don't think you put Cody in position if you're going to have him win at Mania. He's gone through this for the last, year and a half. To have him only have a 3-4 month reign?
Oh no! It wouldn't be a 3 month or 4 month reign. He'd hold it for 8 months or 10 months or something. Yeah, but his
payoff for holding it is getting beat by Gunther?
Yes. Because every reign has a reason. if you're a babyface, your reason for losing the championship needs to be to put over the next big heel. When you're the big heel and you've had a long title reign, your whole purpose is to eventually give it to the big babyface pop win at Mania or SummerSlam or whatever it is to have that.
Yeah, and it's not going to be Mania. Oh, damn. I prepared you this for 4 months ago, 5 months ago.
I don't think I'll ever be prepared.
I can tell.
I just can't, I can't fathom it in my head with everything that I've been told saying otherwise. Like last year, I could.
Well, we were also told we were gonna have Rock Roman headline WrestleMania.
But then the fans, and that's the problem, is that the fans changed it, and I really hope that if Rock Roman was the plan, which from every story that's come out, that was the plan. And then the fans went bananas.
I think we're made to believe the fans were.
Well, if that's the case, then so be it. But from what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling, if the fans changed it, then I really hope that the company is not such sadists that they go, oh, they want Cody to win at Mania. That's interesting. Well, how about we give them everything except for that? How about we give them 99% of that and then don't give them the part that actually matters? Like, I think that would just be, psychotic levels of horrible, because
the reason
we changed the match. That's not the point. We want him to win. That's finish the story doesn't mean you get a second match. It means you win the second match,
This whole time, though, it's been the Bloodline story. It's been the Roman Reigns story with the title story, not Cody Rhodes' story.
And now Cody Rhodes' story starts.
Not yet.
Oh, Dan.
Yeah.
Dan, I can't do it. Dan, I can't. All right.
Just be ready. If I am wrong, I'll eat crow for the rest of the year. No problem. I have no problem doing that.
I want you to know.
Cody is the person. It's just not going to happen.
I just want you to know that I watch wrestling podcasts, and I watched dozens, if not hundreds of hours of wrestling, just about every month. You are the first person that, since the story has changed, has still said that Cody is losing at Mania, outside of one random guy on Twitter that everything is named after the tribal chief. So that doesn't surprise me that guy still is hey, how about Cody has one? How about The Rock takes his right hand and puts it on Cody's neck, and the other hand and grabs his feet and goes and rips him in half like a Ken doll when you were 8 years old, and then throws him in the dumpster. That's basically what his tweets are like, and it's no, no, that's stupid. Why would anybody do that? I forget. Well, there was one that was ridiculous, where somebody said I think what Roman's gonna do is they're going to just double team Cody Rhodes for 25 straight minutes, and Cody's not gonna get an ounce of offense in, and then they're just gonna pin him. And I'm like, on what universe are you watching the show that you think that's gonna be a thing? That's it's all this story about we want Cody and then just kill him? I mean, that seems a bit much. There needs to be at least some 50-50 stuff going on. You can't just be actually he's just gonna die. I mean, he's not even gonna throw a punch. He's just gonna walk into the ring and they're gonna go die, 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 and then that's gonna that's silly. But anyway,
I don't want to be right there, and I hope and if I'm not right, that's fine. I think that's why we do these. The investment level is definitely different between us, and I get that. I'm looking at this. This is, like I said, Bloodline story trumps Cody's story right now still. Man. If we didn't have The Rock involved, completely different. Completely different.
Well, I know you say you watch a lot of Sam Roberts' podcast. Or maybe not a lot of Sam Roberts' podcasts, but you watch some of Sam Roberts, not Sam podcast, right?
Yeah.
Well, he just actually had, he was on Chris Van Fleet's podcast earlier this week, and they talked about what is the moment that sent us into this era. If you had to find a starting point, where was that starting point? And I found it very interesting that Sam's answer, I assumed it would be when Roman returned at SummerSlam or whatever it was, when The Fiend beat Braun Strowman for the belt, and then he came back and speared him, right?
Yep.
I assumed that would have been it. Or when Roman Reigns won the Universal title the next pay-per-view. I forget what pay-per-view it was. Backlash? I don't remember. He didn't say that. He said that the moment that propelled us into the era that we are in is when Cody Rhodes returned at WrestleMania 38. When he came up out of the floor, and he was the exact same Cody Rhodes as he was in AEW. Mm-hmm. That's what started this new era. And I found that very intriguing because it almost kind of makes perfect sense. Because we were in still, a kind of different era of wrestling where we were coming out of a real lull period of probably a good 10 years. Like even after obviously the pandemic was its own horrible thing that we won't talk about. But for 10 years, wrestling was just, at least WWE wrestling. Indie wrestling was obviously a little bit different, but WWE wrestling, the investment level was just dropping off the face of the earth.
Probably post-punk.
Yeah, post-punk, enough. And even a little bit before that.
Yeah.
And it's... Yeah, it seemed like everything turned around when he came up out of that floor. Yeah. And it made a lot of sense. Now, obviously, he had nothing to do with the bloodline stuff for most of it. But it makes sense that the era we are in right now where wrestling is cool again is when Cody came back.
Yeah, he's been back for 2 years now.
His merch... his charitable stuff that I mentioned multiple times already here, just everything to me is pointing towards this being... To me, I can't... All the stories that people want to tell with Roman, from now on, which there's a lot, right? With Solo, with Rock, with Rollins, I get it. I think you can tell all of them without the belt.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
And so for me, especially, if you've waited 2 years and everybody knows that Cody's going to win, just have him win. You already delayed it once, and we were willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, but now I don't see there being as much I don't see how there's possibly as much investment.
Unless Roberts has actually changed his mind in the last month, I don't think he believes Cody's winning the WrestleMania.
You said who?
I don't believe Sam Roberts. I think Sam Roberts thinks.
Sam Roberts. Okay.
I don't think he's. I don't think he believes Roman is actually going to lose the title at WrestleMania either.
Maybe he doesn't.
I think that's kind of where I have the Money in Bank briefcase idea from. But he changed every couple of weeks, so he might have. His most recent one, he might.
He does, yeah. Now, granted, in that statement, he obviously never said, and therefore Cody is winning at WrestleMania.
Right.
That obviously was not the finishing thought of that. But I just don't see how you're gonna be able to tell a story where people are as invested as they are right now in Cody. I just don't see it. I really don't. And I also don't see how, if you do it again, how you're going to have it be as big of a money match as it's going to be this year. Because The Rock's going to be involved. And eventually you're going to have to do Rock versus Roman. Yeah. And The Rock's not exactly a young, spry spring chicken anymore.
No.
So he doesn't have too much time left.
But to me, what you're saying, your scenario, Avengers Assemble, which I think is weird all of a sudden that we're throwing all these, whatever. It is what it is. If we're going that route, to me that doesn't legitimize the win as much for Rhodes as it could.
Okay, so
because it's like he's wanted to stand on his own 2 feet to win this title, and he's had all these people come out to help him to win the title.
Okay, so then if I take away the Avengers Assemble moment and he somehow beats the Bloodline completely by himself, does that change anything?
To me, that's a better cunning moment than everybody. Okay. Yeah.
Then for the sake of convincing you otherwise, I will change my entire story. There's no Avengers. How's that? There you go. No, I just think, and the reason why I don't know if there's necessarily going to be an Avengers Assemble moment. I think at the very least, the only reason I say that is because if Cody is alone, the numbers game's going to catch up.
Yes.
And there's no logical way to bring him back on top from that point if there's no help initially. At least chasing off the Bloodline. Come out with, what was it? Just come out with chairs and just chase them off.
Yeah.
That would be a little lame, but I'd be fine with it. At least do that. Something to
get it back to original 101. Yeah.
Something to even the odds initially. because unless you're going to have Cody just be like, I'm better than the entire bloodline by myself, which I don't want, because I don't want to completely kill the bloodline either, because I think if you tell that story in a way that makes sense, you can keep doing the bloodline story without the title. I think, if anything, there's going to be more intrigue without the title, because what happens when the tribal chief doesn't have a throne?
Yeah.
And then eventually what happens when the tribal chief doesn't have anyone that follows him? Is he even a chief? Like, you can tell those stories without the belt. In fact, I think those stories are imperative without the belt. So for me, if you're going to tell the story of Rock versus Roman for tribal chiefdom, I guess, I think you need to not have the belt involved. And I'm just going to be honest. I also just don't think I can take another year of Roman matches the way that they are.
I'm not saying
I just don't think I can.
He's going to hand the title for another month.
We said at least until September.
I think September. Then we start seeing that end game of however we get Cody back on that to where he's versus Roman. I don't think he'll, I definitely agree. Cody is the guy. But with all these stipulations around both, I think just, it's not the right time to pull the trigger. Again, we're telling more of the bloodline story than Cody's story. Cody's story can keep going, doesn't kill him. And whether it's the briefcase or just another way of him cashing in a rematch chip or whatever, we get that after September.
All right. Well, again, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree, but we'll see what happens.
I'll pray for your well-being.
Yes,
Sunday.
Please do. But that's going to do it, guys. What do you guys think, especially at the end? Dan seemed to know, obviously, that I was not going to agree with that. So do you agree with Dan's take? Do you agree with my take? What do you think about the rest of the matches that we talked about? Let us know. I'm going to go have a panic attack now, as I didn't even entertain the thought of Cody losing at Mania at this point. So I'm just going to go crawl into a ball and try not to scream. But that's going to do it. Thank you guys so very much for watching. No, I'm not going to end the video. That's terrible. No, but Dan, honestly, thank you for coming on and doing this for the last couple of weeks. You're going to be back. Is it 2 weeks that you're coming on, or is it one of these weeks you're missing? I just forget if it's next week or if it's the week after.
Yeah, we'll figure out after.
Okay,
which one? I'll be back soon.
Dan is going to be back soon. We're going to be doing NFL draft coverage as well as some NBA playoff stuff coming at you. So keep that in mind as well. But that's going to do it for real this time. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.